Everyone thought that I hated that woman because Gu Zian fell in love with Jin Chuhan. Actually, it wasn't. I hated her the first time I saw her. It's true that I admired her hard work despite her poor background, but I hated her arrogant attitude. Especially in front of us who were born in a good family, she always looked down on us. You are just born in Rome, what is there to be proud of? I came to Rome through my own efforts. It was this sentence that attracted Gu Zian and won my brother's praise. But I hate this sentence. It is my blessing to be born on the shoulders of a tall man. I have never slacked off for a moment. I study hard and read well. I even train my walking posture over and over again to the most elegant arc. I have been weaving golden robes for decades, just to make myself worthy of this high view, but in Jin Chuhan's eyes, everything I have is protected by my family background. And all my efforts have turned into smoke under her light words. But no one thinks so except me. She seemed like a small white flower swaying on a cliff, attracting everyone's attention. My childhood sweetheart, Gu Zian, his name was placed together with mine since we were born. We were the closest playmates in childhood, holding hands, walking into adolescence together, feeling the budding of young love, watering each other with ambiguity, just waiting for this little bud to grow up and bloom, so that we can pick it. But when Jin Chuhan appeared, this bud of love was trampled. The boy who rejected everyone at the dance and always left the first dance for me, the boy who played the violin only for me and always played solo for me, the boy who would always turn down all arrangements to walk with me on the beach because of my whim, gone. He can no longer see me in his eyes, and I am no longer the first in his arrangements. He only left me a sentence: I only treat you as a sister. It was as if the past 20 years were nothing but a dream, as if the marriage agreement between the two families in childhood had become a joke between children. He and I suddenly became strangers who had stopped at a certain point. How could I accept it? How could I accept it? I tried every way to get my boy back, but his attitude became colder and colder. In the end, everyone blamed me, even my brother who always liked to tease me, and Gu Zian only said one thing to me: how can you be so arrogant and ignorant? It was like a collective amnesia. No one remembered the years when Gu Zian and I had an ambiguous relationship, and no one remembered that I was supposed to be Gu Zian's fiancé. Jin Chuhan replaced me and appeared beside Gu Zian, the only poor student who was admitted to the aristocratic university by exception, with excellent grades, beautiful and stubborn. The rich and powerful young master was always arrogant, and his rebellious attitude was only for her. Love like an idle drama is spread in every corner. It was as if I had become an outsider who didn't fit in overnight. I didn't understand what went wrong. I had been with Gu Zian for 20 years, and I thought the bond between us was unbreakable. It was only 3 months, just 3 months. Everything was gone, love was gone, and now my home was gone. They told me that I was not their biological daughter, but Jin Chuhan was, 20 years ago. The whole city fell because of a sudden heavy rainstorm. In the chaotic hospital, 2 pregnant women gave birth at the same time, and the lives of 2 baby girls were exchanged by the rainstorm. When I watched my parents crying while holding Jin Chuhan, I kept saying sorry. My brother stood beside Jin Chuhan with red eyes, and his hands hung above her head, trembling and wanting to fall, but feeling cramped. Gu Zian guarded beside her like a knight, his face full of joy and sorrow. It seemed as if something was ripped away from my body, and the wind whistled through the hallway, all cold. I couldn't help but walk forward a few steps. My brother noticed me first, his expression changed and he stepped forward to block Jin Chuhan's figure with a strange alert on his face. Baozhu, what do you want to do? Baozhu, my name is Jin Baozhu, because I am the most beloved treasure of my parents. The moment this name came out of my family's mouth with hostility suddenly seemed a little ridiculous. I opened my mouth, but couldn't say a word. What do I want to do? I didn't do anything. I didn't know why my life was turned upside down overnight. Gu Zian frowned, and my parents who loved me the most also had embarrassed expressions on their faces. It was like a happy family dinner, and I suddenly pierced everyone's throat like a fishbone. Baozhu, you should know everything. Chuhan is our real daughter, but because of our negligence, she has been wandering outside and suffering for 20 years. We are all sorry for her. I hope you will treat her well in the future. Jin Baozhu, you have enjoyed Chuhan's life for 20 years, you owe her. The engagement between you and me is also fake. It should be Chuhan who made the engagement with me. Don't bother me anymore. Baozhu, you are not young anymore and you should be sensible. Your biological parents died one after another a few years ago. You grew up in the Jin family. We are still a family, but don't embarrass Chuhan anymore. It's so strange. Everyone in front of me is so strange. I didn't come here to cause trouble. I just wanted to get a sentence. Are you okay? Jin Chuhan is a victim. Am I wrong? I don't know anything. I thought these people in front of me were my blood relatives. Even if you want to throw away a puppy you picked up. You should touch it before throwing it away, right? But the vigilant look and blaming tone in front of me turned me into a stray dog on the roadside. I would have to crawl away if I kicked it. It was as if someone had grabbed my throat and made me unable to breathe. In the chaotic buzzing, I heard a childlike innocent voice. Congratulations to the host for completing the side mission. Please work hard to capture Guzian and Jean Chuni next. Our family has moved for a week. The previous house was a villa in the suburbs. Jean Chuhan felt that it was too far away and inconvenient, so his father arranged for the whole family to move the next day. We moved to a single-family courtyard not far from the school. All the decoration and display were based on Jean Chuhan's preferences. The Cantonese chef at home disappeared because Jean Chuhan loved Hunan cuisine. The cat at home was also sent away because Jean Chuhan was allergic to cat hair, but I love Cantonese cuisine the most. But I have raised the cat for 3 years, but there is a glass greenhouse in the villa that I have carefully taken care of for several years, but I said nothing, not even a single question, because I discovered Jean Chuhan's secret. That day, when that childlike innocent voice sounded, 2 words popped up in my mind: system. Then it was as if someone had stuffed a piece of knowledge that did not belong to me into my head. I understood Jean Chuhan's identity. She came from another space. They are called hosts. They come to a body in this world as souls. Just like a resurrection, the system is to help her. Just like a plug-in when playing games, it will issue a series of tasks to the host. The host can get a lot of rewards for completing the tasks. I don't know why these strange things appear in my mind. I tried to search online, but found nothing. I did find a bunch of time travel novels, but there are no words about system and tasks, so I decided to wait and see. When Jean Chuhan was eating Cantonese food, I heard her talking to the system about the delicious food, but the next moment she frowned slightly. If she loses a hair now, everyone should be on high alert. This frown sounded the alarm for the whole family. Jean Chuhan said it was okay, and the food was delicious, but every bite she swallowed was full of reluctance. Dad immediately stood up and asked the nanny to remove the food. Brother picked up his phone and started looking for a restaurant. Mom carefully asked Jean Chuhan about her favorite flavors. It was like watching a drama, when Jean Chuhan said with a bitter smile and a calm tone, "It's okay. I used to eat the cheapest boxed lunches. I'm not picky. I'm very happy to eat such delicious food." The scene reached its climax. Mom covered her mouth and turned her head away quietly, holding back tears until her whole body trembled. Dad sat stiffly on the chair, stretched out his hand for a long time to pat Mom's trembling body, and sighed deeply. Brother comforted her gently and carefully asked if she liked spicy food, sweet food. It was like talking to a dandelion. And my breathing became lighter. I sat down like an audience member, seeing that everyone confirmed Jean Chuhan's taste and immediately fired the Cantonese chef at home and replaced him with a Hunan chef. I finally couldn't bear it anymore, but the next second, I closed my mouth again, because Jean Chuhan asked, "But doesn't Baoju love Cantonese food? It's not appropriate to change the chef like this." All eyes suddenly focused on me, the audience. Mom's face showed some regret, and Dad and brother looked at each other, both with embarrassment after realizing it. I understood what they meant. They just forgot my existence, before anyone could speak. Jean Chuhan suddenly looked up at everyone and said with some disappointment, "It's okay. Baoju has lived in this family for so many years, and many things have become habits. It's hard to change in a short time. Everyone can accompany Baoju to eat Cantonese food, and I can adapt to it." The host's words are too absolute. "I feel sorry for you, poor little thing. Please." Although I was an unknown before, I graduated from the drama school after all. Wait, Jean Baoju is so arrogant. She will definitely not be able to stand it, or she will be unhappy. The alternating voices seemed to tear Jean Chuhan in the sight into 2 halves. One half is the pitiful Cinderella, and the other half is the vicious and arrogant queen. It's a pity that I am the only one who can see both sides, and everyone else will only cry for Cinderella. I once again saw the dissatisfaction and heartache on the faces of my relatives, dissatisfied that I enjoyed their grace for 20 years more, and distressed that Jean Chuhan enjoyed their grace for 20 years less. "Baoju, Chuhan doesn't like Cantonese food. Let's change to a Hunanese chef." You see, Mom and Dad didn't like Cantonese food before, but they learned to eat it for you. You also have to learn to love your sister. Yes, sister. Obviously, Jean Chuhan and I were born on the same year, month, day and time, but they let Jean Chuhan be my sister, because the elder sister should give in to the younger sister. Their love for Jean Chuhan spread to every inconspicuous corner. I understand that they feel they owe this long-lost daughter, but why do they have to use me to make up for this debt? I would rather they told me directly at the beginning, "You go, you are not our daughter." A quick and painful cut is like saying that they are reluctant to keep me as a family, but using a blunt knife to cut off the relationship between me and them bit by bit. I looked at Jean Chuhan's clear eyes, swallowed the churning emotions like swallowing broken glass, and smiled. Mom and Dad are right, Chuhan loves Hunan cuisine, so let's switch to a Hunan chef. Everyone's expressions began to warm up, and the loving and harmonious drama began again. I played the role of the audience diligently. I heard Jin Chuhan and the system muttering in my ears, all pointing fingers at me. They accused me of changing my personality to be so cowardly, and I was not angry, which caused them to lose the opportunity to improve their favor in front of the Jin family and missed a good opportunity to advance the progress of the task. Yes, the task, having Gu Ziyan, is not enough. They also want to capture my brother, the adopted son of the Jin family, Jin Chingy, and my existence is their biggest obstacle, so they want to drive me away. When I first heard Jin Chuhan communicate with the system about this task, the disgusting and helpless emotions stimulated me to tremble. My brother is the only son of my father's best friend. Not long after he was born, the family underwent a huge change. His biological father entrusted his property and young son, which he had managed to protect, to his father, and followed his wife, who died tragically in the accident. The Jin family was not as powerful as it is now, and it was because of this help that they rose all the way to today's status, although there is no blood relationship in everyone's heart for so many years. He is the biological child of the Jin family. Mom often said that although my brother was not born from her belly, he was the best gift given to her by God, and it was the fate chosen by God for her. When my brother was 18 years old, my father gave the heir to my brother without reservation. My brother also cherished this fate very much, respected his parents and loved his sister, and was always afraid that he didn't give enough. When Jin Chuhan's true identity was revealed, he felt more distressed than anyone else for this sister who had been wandering outside, but now she said that she wanted to turn this brother who loved her into a servant under her skirt. Disgusting, too disgusting. They occupied Jin Chuhan's body, but they never thought of themselves as Jin Chuhan. They just borrowed this body to satisfy their own selfish desires. It's so exciting to have a forbidden love with a handsome and gentle adoptive brother. I think of the real Jin Chuhan, the girl who studied hard for 18 years and was self-reliant. If she knew that before she entered the university she dreamed of, her body would be occupied by outsiders and used to do these disgusting things, she would probably rather be burned to ashes than leave a whole body. The Hunan restaurant delivered a sumptuous meal to my door. I picked up chopsticks and ate some, smiling as they surrounded Jin Chuhan and asked if she liked it. It doesn't matter if everyone forgets that I love Cantonese food because I have a serious stomach problem. It doesn't matter if everyone doesn't remember the happy days of the past 20 years. I still remember that I won't let this woman ruin this family. Today is Jin Chuhan's birthday. Mom and Dad booked the most luxurious hotel in the city, and the LED screens throughout the city were playing birthday congratulations to Jin Chuhan. Endless fireworks, red carpets covered with flowers, reporters' cameras, celebrities from all walks of life. The Jin family's wealth announced to everyone the existence of Jin Chuhan. I stood in the crowd, watching Jin Chuhan walk slowly with Gu Ziyan, and everyone made way for them. The two familiar voices chattered about the price of the dress and the luxurious jewelry. This outsider was a small celebrity in her previous life. She finally lived a life of luxury, but she had to endure it in order to maintain her self-reliant and stubborn image. Now that she can finally satisfy her desire for money in the name of her birthday, she is so excited that she keeps talking to the system. I also heard their comments on me. System, look. Jean Baoju really wore the dress I picked out. This dress was specially ordered by my brother according to my preferences. I asked her to wear it, and she really wore it obediently. I don't know if she is happy wearing the clothes I picked out. She is probably jealous of the host in her heart. She doesn't look as good in that dress as the host. She used to look down on the host, but now she's been slapped in the face. I get annoyed when I see her. She's just a fake daughter, pretending to be more noble than anyone else. She was so arrogant before, but now she's just pretending to be stupid to please me in order to stay in the Jin family. I'll drive her away sooner or later, and she still wants to snatch Gu Ziyan from me. Dream on. There were a few moments when I really wanted to tear off the gauze on the edge of my skirt and stuff it into Jin Chuhan's mouth, but years of self-cultivation suppressed me. In such occasions, every move must be just right. The status of the Jin family is different, and as a daughter of the Jin family, there must be no moment to embarrass the Jin family. Even though I'm no longer their jewel in the palm, the habit engraved in my bones can't be changed. I watched them walk into the center of the banquet with a perfect smile and expressed a few words of praise for Jin Chuhan with the people around me at the right time. Then I turned around and left and found a corner to sit down. I am not the protagonist today, so I will naturally avoid the limelight and definitely not give Jin Chuhan any opportunity to take advantage of it. There are always some people who are not tactful. tisk tsk, Jin Baozhu, you have come to this day. Are you imitating Jin Chuhan by dressing like this? You are really imitating the ugly woman. Yu Han, my high school classmate, was also a pursuer of Gu Ziyan. After she confessed her love in public and was rejected by Gu Ziyan, she always liked to make trouble for me. I really don't understand this kind of woman. If I didn't exist, would Gu Ziyan not reject you? It was Gu Ziyan who didn't give face in public and spoke harshly. He didn't bear grudges against him but always disliked me. Yu Han, long time no see. I nodded and smiled politely. Jin Baozhu, you are really shameless. If I were you, I wouldn't dare to go out and see people. Your fiancé was taken away, and even the position of the eldest lady was taken by someone else. I heard that you used to dislike Jin Chuhan. How is it? How does it feel to be stepped on by someone you hate? Yu Han bent down slightly, half leaned forward, stared at every inch of my face with wide eyes, with an irrepressible smile on his face, looking a little ferocious, like a wild dog that met a wounded lion. I advised myself in my heart to remember Yu Han's ferocious face and never show such a disadvantageous attitude in front of Jin Chuhan. Yu Han, I said softly, please maintain your social etiquette. There are so many eyes watching you. Don't others know what you know? Who can't help but come over to add insult to injury. The Jin family didn't say anything to me, but you couldn't help it. You are slapping the Jin family in the face. Are you afraid that others don't know that you are vicious and stingy, and you are not presentable? I smiled gently, and watched with satisfaction as Yu Han's face surged with anger, but had to suppress it. I barely squeezed out a gentle smile and stood up straight, pretending to just greet me and hurried away. I have been outstanding for 20 years, and there are so many people who don't like me. I have heard a lot of rumors, but I don't care. No matter what people I don't care about say, it can't hurt me. I also like to see these people jump up and down in anger in front of me, but they can't do anything about me. From a distance, I saw Jin Chuhan whispering to Gu Ziyan, and Gu Ziyan looked at me with a hesitant expression. After a while, Gu Ziyan came over, the moment he stood in front of me. I thought I had returned to the past, and the next second he would reach out his hand to invite me to dance the first dance. Jin Baozhu, Chuhan wants to ask you to come over to cut the cake together. She said that today is also your birthday and we should celebrate together. Jin Baozhu, he didn't call me that before. He always likes to call me a Bayo, and the ending sound will be a little longer. As if these two words rolled around on his tongue and were full of attachment before he was willing to spit them out. Okay, I answered straightforwardly, but I couldn't help feeling disappointed. It seems that everyone is busy appreciating the protagonist, and no one has remembered that my birthday as a supporting role is also today. I stood up, and the moment I passed by, Gu Ziyan subconsciously stepped aside, as if he was afraid of having anything to do with me. I suddenly remembered a little thing in the past. When I was in high school, there was a transfer student who liked Gu Ziyan very much. As soon as he saw Gu Ziyan, he would stick to him, as if I was just a background board standing next to him. Gu Ziyan never paid any attention to her, not even letting her touch the corner of his clothes. Once I was talking to Gu Ziyan in the corridor, and the girl called his name with a smile, ran over like a deer, and stretched out her hand to pull Gu Ziyan's sleeve. Gu Ziyan dodged just like he did now, without even looking at her, and took my wrist and pulled me out of the corridor. I don't remember what the girl's expression was at that time. I only remember that time when I looked at Gu Ziyan's profile and the sweetness in my heart. At that time, I never thought that there would be today's day. I almost masochistically stretched and magnified his dodging movements in my heart. Accumulate those bitterness into ice and pour it over and over again on the past feelings, praying to give up all the nostalgia as soon as possible. Every step under my feet must be taken gracefully. I want everyone to see my Jin Baozhu's calm and fearless attitude when facing my old love. Jin Chuhan stood by the 3-layer cake table, under the spotlight. She looked like the princess in the pea, all delicate and tender, without any trace of suffering. I know this is the effect of the props. I have heard their communication. Jin Baozhu and Gu Ziyan's rapid progress in their relationship was rewarded by her for exchanging a prop called Elegant Aura with the system. I have practiced my manners for more than 10 years, and a prop gave Jin Chuhan the power. I am unwilling, but I will not admit defeat. Under the gaze of everyone, Jin Chuhan and I held the same cake knife to cut the cake. In the atmosphere of singing and dancing, I heard Jin Chuhan's voice. System, now, use props to confuse, disrupt Jin Baozhu's sight and let the knife in her hand cut towards my hand. By the way, don't forget to reduce my pain. I suddenly stopped my movements, and cold sweat instantly covered my back. It turns out that props can also work on others. What's wrong? Jin Chuhan's sweet voice sounded in my ears with concern. I knew that my sudden pause would definitely attract everyone's attention. Maybe Gu Ziyan and the others were now nervously wondering if I was going to embarrass Jin Chuhan. but I didn't dare to move. The soft and sweet cake was in my sight, but if I cut it with a knife, it might be blood. Host, why didn't she move? This item is only effective for 3 minutes. You hurry up and let her cut it. Don't waste it. The anxious voice of the system came, and it was like a reassurance to me in an instant. I had an idea. I looked up and smiled at Jin Chuhan. Look at my memory. I was so happy that I forgot to say the blessing before cutting the cake, sister. I stared at Jin Chuhan's eyes and caught the panic in them. I was like a bloodthirsty animal. Savoring the panic of my prey made me feel happy, and my voice was also tinged with excitement. We were born on the same day of the same month of the same year. I think this is the fate given to us by God. Thank you for giving me another family. Happy birthday. I am very happy too, sister. Let's cut the cake quickly. Jin Chuhan was a little anxious. Don't worry. I still have something to say. I held the cake knife tightly. My arms were so tight that they were sore. I turned around slightly, symbolically looked at the relatives around me, and arranged the most beautiful angle that the media below could capture, and consumed Jin Chuhan's patience with a grateful tone. Mom and Dad. A lot of things have happened in our family recently, but I'm very happy that our family can gather here today. I hope that every year in the future, our family can be as happy as we are now. Why don't we cut this cake together? Okay, Baoju, Mom and Dad are very pleased to hear you say that. You and Chuhan are both our good daughters. Mom and Dad walked up and gave Jin Chuhan and me a hug. My brother stood in the middle and held the cake knife in Jin Chuhan's hand with Dad. And Mom held my hand, accompanied by the system's wailing that the time was up. The champagne tower was scattered, and the ribbons exploded behind me. I smiled and cut the cake with everyone. After cutting the cake, I left the stage in a happy mood, only to find that my palms were full of sweat. I underestimated the ability of the system. It was like a god to do this. God, this word was like a red stone burned by fire, jumping around in my mind. I am God. The God who controls you guys. The familiar child's voice was not as romantic as usual, but full of arrogance. It didn't ring in my ears, but in my mind, it was like a fish that slipped out of my memory. My hair stood on end in a flash. Why did this sentence appear? And the previous memory about the system and the host, is this mine? Why didn't I have any impression of it before? Who said this to me? Was it the system? I desperately flipped through my memories so far, trying to find some clues. But I couldn't remember anything extra. I could only vaguely feel that something was floating in my heart like a layer of fog. As long as I blew away this fog, I could see it clearly, but I couldn't get close. The unknown is always the most terrifying. The extravagant banquet scene in front of me became unreal at this moment. I felt like I was falling into an ice cave, and suddenly I felt as if there was a hand hanging over everyone's head. I was extremely terrified, and I wanted to escape from this creepy outsider immediately, but I didn't dare to act rashly. I listened carefully to every word she spoke to the system, chewing over it repeatedly to find another red-hot stone. This damn golden orb. I wasted an item in vain. Does the system have any items that can get rid of her directly? Yes, it is a high-level item called Desire Goo. Desire Goo? What is this? It sounds very similar to the desire I exchanged. It is different. Desire is used on the host to increase the host's charm to the opposite sex. Desire Goo is specifically used to deal with people who hinder the host. However, the exchange points for this item are relatively high, and certain conditions are required for use. The host cannot use it now. What? You told me that it cannot be used. You are just teasing me. You have become bad. Host, don't worry. The focus of our mission is still on the target. Only by obtaining enough points from the target can the host obtain more items. The host now has 4,800 accumulated points. Do you want to see what new items can be exchanged? I don't know if it's a psychological effect, but now when I listen to the system's voice again, it's like a demon in a child's skin. Inducing the person he chose to open Pandora's box, Jin Chuhan sat on the off-white sofa, seemingly listening to Gu Xian chatting with someone beside her. But if you look closely, you will find that her eyes are empty and focused on a certain point in the void. I guess she is probably looking at the props the system is showing her. Just hearing the names of these props makes me feel sick. What? 9 curved corridor? Charming bone fragrance? Just hearing it makes people sick. The system carefully introduces how these props can make men infatuated, and they will never forget them after tasting them. Jin Chuhan imagined in an ambiguous tone what crazy reactions each prop would make Gu Xian have. It sounds like she is planning to take advantage of today's banquet to get closer to Gu Xian. Uncontrollably, the image of Gu Xian and Jin Chuhan entangled in love also appeared in my mind. The scene was so real, as if I had witnessed it thousands of times. I forced myself not to think about these things, and concentrated on analyzing every word the system said. This system has many props, which are used to help outsiders capture men or eliminate dissidents, and props need points to redeem. And points are the rewards for capturing men. This is simply a closed loop. The core points are all around the capture of designated men, and outsiders can get things such as beauty in men's pursuit through this closed loop. So what can this system get? Points for redemption. That's why it has been actively persuading this outsider to work hard to earn points and then redeem props. What are these points used for? Energy conversion. I suddenly thought of a possibility. Just like people need to eat to live, and cars need fuel to run, assuming that this system exists like a Tamagotchi, it must need energy to start and keep running, and points are very likely to be this energy, because this is the only thing it is known to desire. My heartbeat started to speed up because of this guess, like a thief who had just stolen jewelry, nervous and afraid of being discovered. If my guess is true, then if I stop this outsider from continuing to gain points, will it affect the system? This outsider intends to completely capture Guzian tonight, and the system mentioned it when showing the props. As long as she successfully has close contact with Guzian, this person is equivalent to a successful capture. And there is no need to work hard to brush the favorability. Just through each close contact, you can get a small amount of points, which can be accumulated according to the number of close contacts. If you substitute my previous speculation, then Guzian is equivalent to a charging station for the system. I must stop this. This system is definitely not a good person. If I don't find a way to get rid of them, they will definitely not let me go in the future. I must not let these two people have the opportunity to be alone tonight. But Guzian now looks at me like a flood and a beast, so I can only start with Jin Shuhan. In order to prevent her from coming up with any way to frame me, I can't be alone with Jin Shuhan. I must find another person. I quickly went through all the people I could think of present, and finally locked on my brother. Now that I had a candidate, the next step was to find a good excuse. After thinking for a moment, I had an idea. I walked to a place not far from my brother who was chatting with someone, waited for them to finish the topic they were talking about, and interrupted my voice at the right time to call my brother over. "What's wrong, Baoju?" My brother's face was very gentle. I guess it was because he was very satisfied with my performance today. After Jin Shuhan's repeated frame-ups in the past, everyone thought I hated Jin Shuhan and opposed her everywhere. My brother has been troubled by this matter, trying every way to deal with it, hoping that I can get along peacefully with Jin Shuhan. Now seeing the harmony of us cutting the cake together, he is naturally in a good mood. I took out the attitude of acting like a spoiled child in front of my brother in the past, as if we were still close siblings, and those barriers had never happened. "Brother, today is Chuhan's first birthday in our house. It's rare that everyone is so happy. Let's go to Luoxing Garden after the party." My brother was surprised for a moment. "You want to take Chuhan to Luoxing Garden?" "Yes. Chuhan is my sister now, so I naturally want to share all the good things with her." I smiled brightly. For a moment I felt very sad. Although I would maintain a good image outside, I would always be the spoiled little girl in front of my family, but now I also put on a fake mask in front of them. I naturally understand why my brother was so surprised, because only he knows the meaning of Luoxing Garden to me. I named Luoxing Garden. It was originally just a small house in the mountains. My brother went camping with his friends once and found that the starry sky there was as beautiful as the Milky Way. In order to give me a surprise, my brother spent a lot of money to buy a piece of wasteland in the mountains and built a small house, just like the mysterious forest in Grimm's fairy tales. From then on, every birthday, my brother would take me to that little house to spend a warm time with my brother and me. Even Guzian didn't know that place, because it was a secret base for my brother and me. Now, in order to find the most appropriate excuse, I personally brought out this secret. But it doesn't matter anymore. When my brother looked at me disappointedly because of Jin Shuhan again and again, it was just an ordinary house. "Baoju, I'm really happy that you can think like this. You and Shuhan are both my good sisters. Forget the unpleasant things in the past. Our family will be fine in the future." The words pierce like a needle. I understand that only by showing an attitude of acceptance towards Jin Shuhan can I get the friendship of my former relatives. I have known this for a long time, but every time I am stabbed by this cognition, the pain is as new as ever. But it doesn't matter. I will turn all the pain into hair hanging from the beam and alls on the chair. I told my brother, can only the three of us go together, without Guzian, and this will be our common utopia in the future. My brother agreed without objection and took me to find Jin Shuhan. She was sitting with Guzian and whispering to each other, which was so sweet. In front of Jin Shuhan, I nudged my brother with my elbow, winked at him, and then said to Jin Shuhan, "Sister, brother has something to tell you." We were a close family, the drama of people. Jin Shuhan didn't know what to do and followed his brother to the other side to talk. For a while, only Guzian and I were left. One sat, and the other stood. Guzian's eyes lingered on Jin Shuhan's back for a long time before he turned to look at me, like a river that suddenly froze. He looked at me with a piercing temperature. After a long time, he said, "You have changed a lot." I didn't look at him, but just watched the two people chatting from a distance with a smile. Anyone who saw it would think that I accepted Jin Chuhan sincerely. I thought you would never accept Chuhan today. The Jin family held a birthday party for Jin Chuhan, but ignored you, who is also the birthday boy, according to your personality, although you will maintain a decent attendance. You will not be so close to Chuhan. Seeing that I didn't speak, Gu Ziyan talked to himself. Jin Baozhu, what are you planning? His look of facing a great enemy suddenly made me feel happy. I glanced at him from the corner of my eye. Gu Ziyan, are you happy with Jin Chuhan? Of course I am happy. When mentioning Jin Chuhan, Gu Ziyan's tone was tinged with tenderness. Every day with her is a happy day for me. Is that so? Then you must have suffered a lot in the 20 years with me. I think it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that the man I have been obsessed with for so many years is obsessed with this outsider. It's ridiculous that I didn't give up and pestered him to save the relationship before, which was really embarrassing. Then I really have to congratulate you. Congratulations to the woman you love for just treating you as a plaything, and congratulations to the woman you love for still keeping an eye on other men's bodies. Your blessing is still to come. Seeing that my brother finished communicating with Jin Chuhan and came over, I left Gu Ziyan and walked forward, happily urging them to leave early. Along the way, Jin Chuhan complained to the system about the missed opportunity tonight, like a symphony in my ears, which made me feel even better. The angrier Jin Chuhan was, the happier I was. Even when we arrived at Luoxing Garden, Jin Chuhan told the system that I used to be favored by the Jin family, but now I have become a leftover that no one cares about. I was not angry, because I heard the sourness in her voice. I think I may be a little twisted in my mind, and the slightest smell of blood from Jin Chuhan can make me excited. Don't worry, if you want me to go to hell, I will bite you down with my teeth even if I have to break my hands and feet. My brother ordered people to rearrange it on the way. The whole garden was filled with sunflowers that Jin Chuhan liked, and the ribbons and balloons in the room were all pink and purple that Jin Chuhan liked. My brother has always been so careful and considerate. It's as if you are the most precious princess in the world, and he is willing to bring all the beauty of the world to you. I have been watered with his love for the past 20 years, so even if we are separated and it is difficult to get back together, I will not watch him become a plaything. Facing all these efforts, Jin Chuhan was a little absent-minded. My brother thought she was a little tired from the long journey, but I knew she was still thinking about tonight's plan when I heard her discussing with the system whether to secretly send a message to Gu Ziyan and ask him to come over. The two of them would have a special interest in this steep mountain embrace and under the starry sky. I asked my brother in front of her, "It's a rare opportunity, why don't we just sleep together in the living room tonight?" In the past, when my parents were not at home, my brother would sleep on the floor in my room to chat with me and coax me to sleep. Chuhan has not been here for these years, and we have left her with many shortcomings, which should be made up. Moreover, she has just returned not long ago, and we don't understand each other in many things, so it's a good opportunity to talk together. This is a good idea. My brother's eyes lit up when I heard Jin Chuhan's angry curse. I almost couldn't help laughing. She always looked like a lost lamb finding its home when facing her brother, so she naturally wouldn't easily refuse her brother's request. But my good mood was broken in just a moment, because I heard the system notification, host. The target Jin Chengyi's favorability towards you has just increased by 3 points, and now it is 73%. Gu Ziyan's favorability towards the host is now 100%. We can have a chance to take him down at any time. Now take this opportunity to take advantage of Jin Chengyi's favorability. My smile faded a little, and I could only comfort myself in my heart. It doesn't matter. There is still a chance at 73. The most important thing now is to verify my guess. The system is my biggest obstacle. Only by understanding the weaknesses of the system can I deal with them better. You can't chop down a big tree with one axe. Seeing Jin Chuhan diligently going to help her brother pack the bedding, I wanted to follow him to help, but suddenly remembered that there was something in this room. Since I have abandoned this Garden of Eden, I shouldn't leave that thing here any longer. I used the excuse of going to the garden to get some fresh air, avoiding the two people, and found the cherry tree in the yard alone. This tree was planted by my brother and I when I was 15 years old, and it was the first time my brother brought me here, because I like cherry blossoms. My brother specially airlifted a cherry blossom sapling from Japan. Usually when we are not around, someone takes care of it. There is a box buried under this tree. I buried it secretly without telling my brother. The box was not buried deep, and I dug it out with a small hand shovel in the garden. It was a brown calfskin suitcase, the size of a palm, wrapped in plastic paper. This calfskin suitcase was bought when I was 10 years old and spent the summer vacation in London with my brother. At that time, my brother left the nanny and took me out to play alone. I saw this calfskin suitcase in a shop window. It was half open at the time, and there was a very delicate crystal figurine inside. I liked it at first sight. My brother wanted to buy it for me, but we found out that our wallet and cell phone had been stolen. I thought I would just give up and buy it next time, but the boss said it was a unique antique, and there was only one. My brother was afraid that someone else would get there first, so he asked the boss to borrow his phone and wanted the nanny to come to us with the money, but no one answered. At that time, my brother was only 13 years old. He was so anxious that his face turned red after thinking about it. He took off the watch on his wrist and mortgaged it to the boss. That was my brother's favorite watch, although the nanny took us to redeem the watch later. But I will always remember what my brother told me while holding the box. "Baoju, I will buy you anything you like. I will be happy if you are happy." His eyes were so bright that every time I thought about it later, I felt like I was wrapped in melted chocolate. So when I first learned about Jin Chuhan's true identity, the temptation in my brother's eyes for Jin Chuhan pierced my heart. At that time, I only needed a caring smile to open my arms. The memories of the past were densely packed like a fishing net, which caught me and dragged me into the water. I forced myself not to think about it, and quickly opened the box and took out a pair of necklaces inside. The necklace was a thin silver chain with a pendant. One pendant was a little princess wearing a skirt with Jin Chengyi's princess sister engraved on the back. The other was a little prince wearing a tuxedo, with Jin Baoju's prince brother engraved on the back. I made this by myself when I was 16 years old, with a unique naivety in front of my family. At that time, I especially found someone to learn how to burn silver, cast molds, and polish for a whole winter, and I hurt several fingers and wasted several pieces of silver before I made it. I put it in this precious little box, thinking of giving it to my brother on my 20th birthday. Other families become adults at the age of 18, and I am 20 years old, because my parents said they hope I can be a child for a few more years. But now, I think no one should care about this. I put the necklace in my pocket, buried the small box back, sorted my clothes, and prepared to go back. I took 2 steps, hesitated, and turned back to the cherry tree. I took out the necklace from my pocket, and the branches of the cherry tree drooped lightly like an embrace that was about to open but not yet opened, half covering my body. I carefully picked up the princess's necklace, put it down again, and was silent for a long time, then grabbed the prince's necklace and put it on gently. When the buckle didn't buckle for the first time, I realized that I didn't know when my breathing stopped, and my hands were shaking. Like a thief, Jin Chuhan has appeared in my life for 4 months, and I have never shed a tear. I am Jin Baoju. I am the most precious treasure in the world. They want me to be covered in dust, but I want to shine. I don't want to cry, let alone hide in the shadow of the big tree like now, crying so hard that my throat is spasming, but I dare not sob. I trembled and buckled the necklace, and I couldn't buckle it again, and I didn't know how many times. Click. The necklace clasp closed, but something cracked in my mind and poured out. I remembered everything. I am Jin Baoju, but not Jin Baoju. I am a broken soul that has been destroyed and rebuilt again and again. I am a supporting role in the small world in the system's mouth. As the daughter of the Jin family, I have lived smoothly for 20 years. I have all the good things, until I was 20 years old and it came to an abrupt end, because Jin Chuhan appeared. She is Jin Chuhan and not. She is just a container, carrying the souls of outsiders. She will take away everything from me, tear my beauty into pieces in front of me like a cat catching a mouse, driving me crazy and making me jealous. See me don't understand why life suddenly becomes a derailed train. See me screaming and trying to hold this train, bumping my head and bleeding under the name of Jin Chuhan again and again, until I lost my pride and self-esteem, and my mind was broken on a drunken night. I was taken away by several men and dragged into a real nightmare, and I would also indulge in that nightmare, becoming a poor creature who only knew how to beg for pleasure at the feet of men. At the age of 22, I died on a night when I begged a dozen men like an animal. Then I woke up on the rainy night when I first opened my eyes and cried for the first time, and lost all my memories. I don't know how many times I have reincarnated. The last time, on the night I died, I became a wandering soul. I saw with my own eyes that my body, covered with blue and purple marks and dirty excrement, was pushed into the disposal of the garbage dump, and turned into blood mud without even a piece of cloth to cover my shame, like a fool who was suddenly slapped on the top of his head. I couldn't believe that the person who was willing to become a toy in my memory was me. I was so cold even though I was already dead. I don't know how long I have been wandering in this garbage dump. I think maybe I died here and became a ghost. I thought I would slowly disappear in this dirty place, but Jin Chuhan appeared. She brought Gu Zian to this place in a red sports car that was as bright as fire. Gu Zian, the man who would not even touch a handkerchief dropped on the ground, in this disgusting place. He was eager to vent his desires like a dog. That was the first time I heard the voice of the system. He appeared after the two of them. I saw Jin Chuhan leaning in Gu Zian's arms with shyness, smiling like a dewdrop in the morning, but in his heart, he said the most vicious words to the system, all, that Jin Baozhu died here. I don't know if her ghost will see what Gu Zian looked like just now, and I don't know if she is angry to death, or she is eager to join in. After all, she is a nymphomaniac who knows nothing except men. Host, there are no ghosts in this world. She died a long time ago. The host is really getting worse and worse. It turns out that she is not Jin Chuhan. It turns out that she is a soul from another world who came for strategy. It turns out that I became like this because they planted the desire poison in me when I was the most vulnerable and sad. The system tempted the outsider, using a large number of points to exchange for props to see me, a self-righteous and annoying ghost, become the most pathetic at that time. I couldn't understand why this outsider would be so vicious. Later, I gradually understood that in their hearts, they were above us. It's like God looking down on the life under his feet, that life is as light as dust. Who would care about a grain of dust? From that day on, my soul has been following Jin Chuhan. They seemed to be unable to feel me, but I gradually saw their true appearance. Just like playing a game, all of us are NPCs in the game. Outsiders are like players who come to pass the level one by one, and they are like fish in water with the help of the system plug-in. My childhood sweetheart, Gu Zian, the heir of the Gu family, is the #1 high-quality target. My brother, Jin Chengyi, the eldest son of the Jin family, is the #2 high-quality target. There are also #3, #4, and #5, all of whom are men standing at the top of the pyramid without exception. The outsider in Jin Chuhan's body will approach each of them, and with the help of the system, he will brush their favorability, and then use the points gained from the favorability to exchange for props. If the manners are not elegant enough, exchange for the elegant aura. If the appearance is not beautiful enough, exchange for the beauty filter. If the voice is not pleasant enough, exchange for the pleasant sound of silver bells. If you don't know piano, chess, calligraphy, and painting, exchange for the master's memory. If the body is not attractive enough, exchange for the charming bone frankincense. As long as the system is there, she can become the perfect goddess in every man's heart. As long as the favorability is full, she can complete the first harmony with the man. And then these men will become completely dominated puppets like me. In his eyes, he can no longer see anything except this outsider. I thought they were also like this because of the props. But I gradually found that it was not the case. They are more like the default settings of the game. Later I understood that this was probably the system's trick, because in this way, men can become charging piles, providing points for outsiders continuously. And points can continuously supply the system. In the end, these men surrounded outsiders like hungry wild dogs that smelled meat. There was no ethics, no pride and dignity, and they were willing to share the same love. I also saw Gu Zian and his brother circling around outsiders. No, they are not Gu Zian, nor my brother. They are all puppets of Jin Chuhan. As for me, I am just a stone under their feet. Before they came to this world, I am Gu Zian's fiancée. I am Jin Chengyi's most beloved sister. And I am the jewel in the crown of the Jin family. If they want to replace me, they must kick me out. But how can I be willing to be replaced? I will struggle and resist. But this is what they want. How can a simple replacement work that can erase the traces of my existence? What they want is to be unique in everyone's heart, so they want me to be broken, crazy, and turn from a red rose into mosquito blood. They want the traces of the once beautiful in everyone's heart to become scars that make people feel bored when they think of them. They don't think they are wrong, because they feel superior to me. The superiors don't care about the joys, sorrows, anger, and happiness of the inferiors. Even if the wrath of thunder is shown, the inferiors should treat it as alms. If they are dissatisfied, they are ungrateful and deserve to be beaten to death. I pieced together the story after I left from the few words I got for a long time. Jin Chuhan is a wealthy lady sought after by thousands of people. At the engagement party with Gu Zian, she was half-heartedly embraced by her adoptive brother Jin Chengyi. She racked her brains to seduce Jin Chengyi for a year and a half, and finally achieved her long-cherished wish with the help of the prop ecstasy incense. But she pretended to be in pain between the two men, being ambiguous with both of them, which made the two men crazy for her. In the end, they compromised and agreed to have her together as long as she didn't leave. My well-educated parents were heartbroken after finding out about this, and it also became a heart-wrenching plot for Jin Chuhan to pull the men. In the end, my parents went overseas and never came back, and my name also became a lost name that had long been blurred in everyone's world. No one knew that I had died long ago. This was good. At least in my last memory, I look like a human being. I don't know how many years have passed. My consciousness has become very vague. I was confused most of the time, and only occasionally clear-headed, when I heard the voice again and opened my eyes. I was in the Falling Star Garden. It's just that it's now called the Star-Picking Terrace, which is the favorite place for Jin Chuhan and Jin Chingy to hang out. Perhaps because he was tired of the scenery here, Jin Chuhan asked someone to demolish the garden and rebuild it. When the cherry tree was demolished, a box was revealed. It took me a while to recognize what the box was. Jin Chuhan opened the box, took out the 2 necklaces, and read the names on the necklaces in a long voice with a weird smile. My long fuzzy memory suddenly became vivid. I saw Jin Chuhan holding the necklace and dangling it in front of Jin Chingy, pouting and acting coquettishly. Jin Baoju's prince brother Jin Chingy's princess sister, you two have a really good relationship. Doesn't she like Gu Ziyan? Does she have feelings for you too? Humph, I'm not happy. I saw Jin Chingy smiling dotingly, pinching Jin Chuhan's face, and saying, why mention her? I didn't even know there were these 2 necklaces. I'll have someone throw it away later. Don't be jealous. It's so strange. I thought ghosts wouldn't feel pain. My soul suddenly dispersed at that moment. It's been 3 days since I remembered everything. During these 3 days, I stayed indoors on the pretext of being sick. The heavy curtains blocked the sunlight in the room and also blocked my vitality. I felt unprecedented frustration. I thought I had already experienced the magic of the system, but I never expected that its ability was beyond my imagination. All of us are like a chess game in his hands. I thought their appearance was an accident in my life, but I didn't expect it to be the norm in my life. I don't know what to do, but I can't do nothing. Because I already know what the end of sitting and waiting for death is. I don't want to recall those painful and humiliating days and nights, let alone try again. I didn't expect that just being an ordinary person and spending an ordinary life has become a luxury. There was a knock on the door, and I closed my eyes tiredly and pretended to be asleep. I couldn't hear the footsteps when I stepped on the heavy wool carpet, but I could feel the sight falling on me. I don't know who it is. I just felt that someone was staring at me for a long time. System, why did you ask me to see Jin Baoju? Is there anything wrong with her? I have to go out with Zhe Yan in the afternoon. A few days ago in Luoxing Garden, I felt that Jin Baoju had energy fluctuations. I was a little worried and came to take a look. Energy fluctuations? What is that? It's not a big deal. After all, we are not from the small world. We entered this world by force. When we get close to the main characters of the small world, sometimes it will cause some energy fluctuations in the small world. I just scanned her and there was nothing abnormal. Is that so? Will these things affect my mission? Affect? Of course not. Host, please rest assured, with me here, nothing can affect you. Well, since there is no problem with the inspection, let's go. Didn't the host also make an appointment with Gu Ziyan? We must work hard to take him down today. The door closed and the room was quiet for a long time. I dared to open my eyes. I was sweating all over. I am God, the God who controls you. The system's contemptuous and arrogant tone just now reminded me of the words that sounded in my mind before. But I can't remember hearing the system say this sentence in my previous life. But this sentence is so real, as if it is engraved in my soul. Every word is so arrogant and disdainful that it makes me numb all over. I can't go on like this. Otherwise, I will go crazy before they torture me crazy. I sat up and lay in bed for a few days. My hands and feet were weak. After sitting on the bed for a while, I walked to the balcony, opened the curtains and pushed open the window. The sudden light made me squint my eyes, and fresh air rushed in from outside the window. I slowly exhaled a breath of suppressed turbid air. The wind was wrapped with the fragrance of the garden, and the sunshine dispelled the coldness of the other world with the long-lost warmth. It feels so good to be alive, so good that I want to cry. I really want to live, even if it's just to bask in the sun every day. An impulse suddenly rose, run away, run far away. And maybe you can survive by hiding your identity, like a dam that releases floodwaters. I was swallowed up by this sudden impulse in an instant. I wish I could jump out of the window now and run as far as I can, but in just a moment, this idea was blown away by the wind. I escaped this time, but what about the next time, and the next time? I looked around, and the sky and the earth seemed to have turned into a huge cage that trapped me fiercely. There was a voice coming from the garden. It was my brother who was sending Jin Chuhan out. Jin Chuhan's joyful chirping was like a bird on a branch, jumping with a fresh breath in the sun. I heard the system's notification. Jin Chingy's favorability towards the host has increased by 2 points. And it is now 81%. Please keep up the good work. I watched quietly for a long time until the two of them disappeared from my sight. Some things were also peeled off from my body as they left. I closed the window, found the eyebrow trimmer on the dressing table, and took it to the bathroom. The small blade was as thin as a piece of paper, and it was like a feather when it fell, but it was extremely sharp. I used it to cut the inside of my upper arm 7 or 8 times before stopping. And pulled a towel to press it on. The soft towel was like a baby's mouth, sucking the blood in my body until the wound no longer spit out freely, and then reluctantly stopped. I cut another wound. This time I ignored the blood and wiped it off. I changed into a black long-sleeved shirt. I rolled up the bloody towel and stuffed it into my handbag. I pulled out a bloody corner and put it in the zipper. From a distance, it looked like a small tongue stuck out of the black bag. I packed up, put on sunglasses, and left the bedroom in a hurry, but I happened to meet my brother who had just sent Jin Chuhan back in the living room. "Baoju, aren't you feeling unwell? Why are you out? Where are you going?" He lowered his head to hide his expression, half covered his handbag, and tried to be calm but with traces of crying. "No, nothing. I have something to go out for." After doing this set of actions, I lowered my head and walked around my brother and ran out. I heard my brother calling me from behind, and the sound of footsteps. I held my intact arm tightly against my chest, and the injured arm fell behind carelessly, like a flower waiting to be picked. The next second, the flower was held by someone, and the delicate flower stem was squeezed to produce bright red juice. Hiss. I trembled all over, but immediately froze and dared not move again. The wetness penetrated the thin and absorbent cotton fabric. "What's wrong with you? What's wrong with your arm?" My brother let me go, and I heard the worry in his voice. I raised my face to look at him, and then quickly turned my head away, and the corner of the towel exposed in the bag fell completely into his sight by the amplitude of my body rotation. "Nothing. I have something to go out." "Nothing. Are you injured? What's in your bag?" He tried to get closer to me, and I retreated again and again, like a kite string being pulled. "It's nothing. I'm going out first." I was like Cinderella who ran away from the ball, hurriedly getting rid of the prince's entanglement and finding the carriage that took me away. My brother's figure in the rearview mirror gradually blurred, and my arm holding the steering wheel felt pain, but I laughed. Outsiders thought I was just a spoiled fool, thinking that I really didn't understand those twists and turns. Don't forget, in the upper class, I'm used to those beautiful women trying to get in. How could I not understand? I just didn't want to be outdone. Even if my heart hurts so much that it bleeds, I will hold my head up and never shed a tear. Even if I can't accept being abandoned, I won't lie on the ground and beg to stay. When I'm pushed to the extreme, I can only question with all my might. Even in this life, even if I already knew that Jin Chuhan was not right, I would rather maintain my dignity and struggle to find Jin Chuhan's weaknesses, and I would never cry and tell the pain in my heart. But now I am different. I am a devil crawling out of hell. As long as I can kill my enemy, I don't care about anything. I drove all the way and found a small clinic on the roadside to bandage my wounds. I also found several psychological clinics that didn't treat patients, but only business cards. I scratched the address and phone number of each business card with a signature pen in the car, and the hideous marks were full of the owner's entanglement. I put all the business cards in my bag and drove home. As soon as I entered the door, the nanny came to meet me. I ignored her and stood in the living room for a long time before mechanically taking off my bag and handing it to the nanny, asking her to throw my bag away. After doing all this, I slowly walked back to the room. I closed the door and breathed a sigh of relief. I am betting on my understanding of my brother. After he finds out that something is wrong with me, he will definitely ask the nanny at home what happened and ask her to keep an eye on my movements. The nanny will definitely tell my brother about this bag and my appearance just now. The blood stains on the white lining of the bag and a stack of psychiatrist's business cards with the address and phone number crossed out. I took the initiative to go to Luoshing Garden, but I was sick for several days after returning. I was suddenly changed but didn't make a fuss or ask. Anne was obedient during this period. I put down my pride for the past 20 years at this moment. I want to let them all know my pain and my forbearance. I can't be a supporting role in this play anymore. I have to compete with Jin Chuhan. Only when I stand in the spotlight first can I have the qualifications to tell everyone how unbearable the other beam of light is. When my brother brought a new friend to ask me out for coffee, I knew that the fish was hooked. The new friend is a woman in her 30s, with an ordinary appearance, but exuding a sense of affinity. My brother left with an excuse, leaving time for us to be alone. These days I have been browsing psychology books and videos day and night, just waiting for this moment. In front of the psychologist my brother found to pretend to be an ordinary person, I played the role of a depressed patient who was unwilling to face the serious problems in his heart and was only thinking about his family. The evening of the second day after this conversation, I was alone in the garden, waiting for my brother who brought milk and dessert. Baoju, are you a little unhappy recently? You can tell your brother if there is anything." Facing my brother's tentative eyes, I smiled as usual, propped my elbow on the table, and reached out for milk. During the movement, a piece of my sleeve was torn off, revealing 2 knife marks, and exuding a fresh smell. "Baoju." This time he grabbed my hand again and I didn't run away. "Baoju, what are you doing? What's wrong?" His expression looked very sad, and his voice was very anxious, but I still couldn't forget the sentence, "Why mention her?" I lowered my eyes and saw a pale and sad reflection on the glass table. The sadness that filled me at this moment was real. My brother began to comfort me in a low voice, trying to make me open my heart. I had already thought about how to say every word and every gesture. But when I opened my mouth, I said something else. "Brother, when you knew Jin Chuhan's true identity, I could understand that you couldn't face it for a while, but why were you so wary of me?" Embarrassment flashed across his face, followed by silence. After a while, he looked at me with complicated eyes and said to me, "You also know that you didn't like Chuhan at that time, and you opposed her in every way." Suddenly, something like this happened. I was worried that you would have conflicts with her because you couldn't accept it. "Brother, we grew up together. Don't you understand me? When have you ever seen me target someone for no reason? I opposed her because of Gu Xian. You know the relationship between Gu Xian and me. Shouldn't I have emotions when she stole my love?" My voice became more and more urgent, and I seemed to be back in that garbage dump in a trance. "When it rains, there will be dense stomping sounds when raindrops fall on the iron roof. You should understand that what I value most is family. Since Jin Chuhan has become a member of our family, since she knows that I took her engagement, and she and Gu Xian are already done, I am not an unreasonable person. As long as she doesn't bully me, I won't hurt her. Have we been fake for the past 20 years? Haven't you always known me best? Why is it like this? Baoju, he hesitated and couldn't speak, as if he was thinking but couldn't figure it out. His face suddenly overlapped in his sight, eager, crazy, indifferent, and finally condensed into a strange face, a face that has become strange since Jin Chuhan appeared. "You only thought of Jin Chuhan's feelings at that time?" My excited emotions collapsed. "In fact, if you think rationally, my brother at that time had known Jin Chuhan for some time, and had a great favorability under Jin Chuhan's strategy. At this time, he suddenly learned that this girl, whom he liked and admired very much, was his sister who had been lost for many years and had been suffering outside. How could he hold back the gushing love and care? But I didn't understand why everything left me overnight. I didn't do anything wrong, but there was not even a word of comfort. I was immersed in the swamp of emotions and was led by outsiders into a dead end. Maybe I should have been more rational at the beginning, but how can feelings be measured by reason? Feelings are water and fire, light and darkness, and all contradictions trapped together, which are boiled and sticky. Baoju, you also know that Chuhan has suffered too much for so many years. Brother began to explain to me. I looked at him quietly for a while, and the role that had been rehearsed long ago climbed onto my body again little by little. I remembered the lines I should say. I pinched my palms and suddenly began to cry, pulling the play back on track. I told him that I didn't hate him, I just loved them too much. I loved my family deeply, but everyone suddenly left me. I had nightmares every night, dreaming of being abandoned. I could only try my best to please Jin Chuhan, hoping to be looked at by them more. Half-truths and half-falsehoods were mixed together. I sang this scene with tears and heartbreak. The bloodstains on my arms were like burning fires, burning along my arms to my brother's body, making him feel uneasy. Baoju, I'm sorry. It's all my brother's fault. It's my brother who ignored you. When he hugged me in his arms and choked in my ears, I knew that this drama of gambling on 20 years of feelings had opened perfectly. From this day on, my brother's care for me reached its peak. Even better than before Jin Chuhan appeared. It seemed like I was back in my childhood, and I was always sticking to my brother. He accompanied me to walk on the beach, took me to the playground when I was a child, and made cakes with me. Seeing that my brother was being pestered by me all day, Jin Chuhan also wanted to join in, but my brother, who had been warned by the psychologist, was afraid that she would irritate me, so he found a reason to refuse. Jin Chuhan, who was disappointed, ignored the systems urging her to hurry up and brush up her favorability, and turned to Gu Xian's arms. I know that they had just completed their first in-depth communication a few days ago, and now is the time when they are in love. And it is also the time when they are most relaxed about the strategy for my brother. I am waiting for this opportunity, otherwise if she spends more time thinking, I don't know how long my brother, who is aroused by past feelings, can hold on. My brother's favorability towards outsiders is now 81%, I know very well about the strategy. If this strategy is placed on other men, it is to the extent that I like her and care about her, but it's different for my brother. He has a certain affinity for the word sister. This degree of affection is still the degree of liking, but not knowing it for him, everything can be stopped in time. The last time my brother was attacked, the outsider had been hiding the fact that she and Guzian had already had physical contact. When she mentioned Guzian to my brother, she was in a state of ignorant affection. Based on this foundation, she seduced my brother without any scruples. I don't know if the system has taught these outsiders anything, or if the system likes to choose the same type of host. The outsider last time is the same as the outsider now. He always looks independent, strong and stubborn outside, but becomes an innocent little rabbit in front of men, especially in front of my brother. He uses the cover of the relationship to make ambiguous actions unscrupulously. After bathing, she only wore a short bathrobe, and went to her brother with steam dripping from her body. She acted like a spoiled child and asked him to warm the milk. Then she held the milk cup and talked to her brother while biting the straw. The lust almost flowed out, but she stared with innocent eyes, as if she was just ignorant and naive. Watching horror movies together, she screamed and crawled into her brother's arms, holding the collar on both sides of her brother's shoulders with both hands, and her soft body trembled tightly in her brother's arms like a boneless body, and her sweet voice sighed in her ear. Luckily you are here. Ambiguity filled every gap, but it was vague, as if it was just an ignorant accident. Such dramas devoured her brother's heart bit by bit, and he began to wander between love and morality. Love was born in every ambiguous teasing moment, and the shame of unilaterally peeping at her stepsister was born in every ignorant moment. The best catalyst for love is negative emotions. The more entangled, the deeper it is. When this love is catalyzed to 100%, the person trapped in the quagmire gets a response. The darkness is illuminated, and this moment is enough to be remembered forever. But I hate this sentence. Gusha left sadly in his hesitation and cowardice, and the news of his engagement to another man came out, even though I knew that they had already had an engagement and should bless them. It was so heartbreaking. Love and regret almost destroyed my brother, who has always been noble and proud. At this time, with the help of the system, the beast can escape from the cage with a slight push and step into the real abyss under the guidance of the half-hearted woman. From beginning to end, this woman was so pure and innocent, and he was too wrong, so deep that he was willing to make mistakes forever. Recalling the past, I couldn't help but applaud. What a pair of resentful couples without ethical shame, but this time I will never give them a chance. I was sitting in the living room playing chess with my brother. Jin Chuhan was picking clothes in the room, and I heard her discussing with the system. Tomorrow she is going out on a date with Guzian, and she has made herself into a gift to surprise Guzian. But surprises always require a lot of people to make them lively, so who should go to celebrate for them? I stroked the chess pieces and stared at the chessboard, and they all suddenly had names. It would be too dangerous to let my brother go, as he is now at a time when he has a vague affection for Jin Chuhan but does not know it, and he must not be given the slightest chance to see the woman's side of the sister. If my parents go, even if there is something, they will help cover it up for the sake of their precious daughter. It would be too deliberate for me to go. I held the chess piece above the chessboard, and after a long time, I finally raised my finger and pushed a chess piece off the chessboard, dropping my own piece. The chess piece that was pushed down is called Yuhan, Guzian's pursuer, who knows Jin Chuhan and is jealous of her, and everyone knows that she has a bad relationship with me. Is there anyone more suitable than her? Yuhan is a cellist at the Conservatory of Music, and usually performs in the theater, but today the theater did not have her repertoire, as it was fully booked by musical actors from other places. But I heard that Yuhan's best friend likes this musical actor very much, and she will come to watch every performance of his, without getting tired of it. So I asked my brother to go for a walk, and we passed by the theater while walking. The entrance of the theater was full of posters. I stared at those posters for a while, and my brother asked me if I wanted to buy a ticket to go in and take a look. Everything went smoothly. Although I have never dealt with Yuhan's good friends, I know the face that always glared at me when hovering beside Yuhan. After the performance, I was in high spirits, went on stage to present flowers, and passed by that face on the stage. I knew she would recognize me, just like the ugly duckling can recognize which feather is the swan feather in a piece of white feathers at a glance, because it cares too much. After presenting the flowers, I told my brother that I wanted to go to the bathroom, chose a small cubicle, took out my phone and started talking. This was the advice of a psychologist, so that I could record a voice message on my phone when I wanted to talk but didn't want to. I came to see the show with my brother today, but I still couldn't be happy because I accidentally heard Chuhan say that she was going to go to the hot spring homestay to date Zayen tomorrow night. That homestay was the Wuyan homestay that Zayen and I had been to before. I wonder if they would book the orange courtyard where we had stayed before. Chuhan also said that she was going to give Zayen a big surprise, although I don't know what the surprise is. But I have a hunch that after tonight, the two of them will be inseparable. I sobbed twice when I said this, and I smelled the familiar perfume from next door, which was particularly pungent mixed with the fragrance in the bathroom. This was coming from her when I passed by that face. Chuhan is my sister. I can only sincerely wish them happiness, and Chuhan doesn't want this to be known to others, and I don't know whether I should tell my brother. Forget it. Zayen should have been Chuhan's fiancé. I should help them. The perfume smell is getting stronger and stronger. I even wonder if she is lying on the partition directly. This woman's father is a senior executive of Yuhan's company. She has been Yuhan's clairvoyant and wind hearing since high school. She always puts Yuhan first and is extremely loyal. She will definitely tell Yuhan every word of what she said just now. Yuhan has been obsessed with Gu Zayen for so many years. She always thought that as long as she got rid of me, Gu Zayen would definitely fall in love with her. This has almost become her obsession, but now suddenly there is Jin Chuhan who has bewitched Gu Zayen in just a few months. How can she be willing? What's more, I have always been her biggest enemy in her relationship, and she is inferior to me in every way. She has been holding back for so many years and has been trying to win me over, otherwise she would not have been so impatient at the birthday party last time. Now she knows that I not only lost, but also lost painfully. She must use all means to climb up to prove that she is better than me. As for that outsider, with her bad temper, when I knew that she had booked the hot spring homestay that Guzian and I had been to, I knew what she was thinking. She would definitely go to Juhon Courtyard. I recorded a few more blessings to Jin Chuhan in a crying voice before stopping, carefully saving the recording, and leaving the bathroom. I don't know what Yuhan will do after knowing this news, but I believe she will not let me down. She was my opponent, and I know my opponent very well. Yuhan's father has been messing around outside for many years, but no matter what he did, Yuhan and her daughter kept the door tightly closed, and not even a butterfly could fly in. She is the best at these petty things, and I just need to be a bystander. The next morning, Jin Chuhan went out early and didn't come back all night. She said she was going to a hot spring with some friends. As a result, just after midnight, a piece of gossip suddenly broke out on the internet. The original wife caught the mistress in the hot spring, but was beaten by her husband because the mistress was too beautiful. The headline, full of melodrama, is eye-catching. Anyone who sees it has to click on the video and pictures in this gossip to see how beautiful the mistress is. I am very satisfied with Yuhan's cleverness. She did not choose a formal gossip media and avoided the risk of being publicized in the first time. She directly broke the news to the marketing account and self-media, concealing the identity information of the two people, and relying on melodrama and explosive points to get out of the circle. She didn't even call out the names of Jin Chuhan and Gu Zian in the video, but just shouted, "Why are you two here?" Jin Chuhan would not understand this point, which is the consensus of the rich and powerful. When everyone becomes a circle and builds high walls and steps outside this circle, then we won't care too much about the rumors outside, because it can't affect us. We only care about the opinions of people in the same circle. The reputation in the circle is really over when it is gone. From the beginning, the purpose of Yuhan and I was not to let everyone know about Jin Chuhan's scandal. It was enough to let everyone in the circle who knew Jin Chuhan's face know about it. The circle has its own way of circulating information. In the video, the moment of breaking into the room, the naked bodies of the two people on the bed flashed by, although blurred, but it was enough to explain everything. The rapidly approaching camera just took a close-up of the kiss mark on Jin Chuhan's collarbone and the stunned face. When she screamed and got into the quilt, Gu Zian was furious and picked up the ashtray and threw it at her, and he took a shot of the used condom on the ground without panic. It seems that Yuhan hired a professional paparazzi. The footage captured enough information, but I don't know how she brought people in to do this, whether it is the Gu family or the Jin family. Yuhan cannot trample on them at will. If there is no reasonable excuse, the Yu family will definitely be in trouble. Before dawn, the original appearance of the whole thing rolled out like a peeled egg. Gossip will not change because of the status. It is said that Yuhan took her mother to catch her father's adultery. Yuhan's father, General Yu, is nearly 50 years old and still has a sharp sword. He has a college student outside. It can be said that General Yu has done this before. He has tried all kinds of young models, little stars, and beautiful young women, but they are all short-lived and can't make much waves. There are a few who tried their best to put a baby boy in their belly, and then dreamed of taking root with General Yu. But they were all pulled out by Yuhan and her daughter without a single leaf left. After all, General Yu has 2 sons, who are Yuhan's twin brothers, so naturally he is not very interested in other people's flesh and blood, originally. Yuhan and her daughter had turned a blind eye to these things, thinking that Mr. Yu was getting older and older, and the children were not young anymore, so no matter how much trouble they made, it would not cause any trouble. But the old house caught fire. It was unknown what this girl had seduced Mr. Yu into having evil thoughts. Not only did he make her pregnant, but he also hid her secretly, promising that no matter whether it was a boy or a girl, as long as it was born, it would be the fruit of their love and they would share a share of the family property. How could Yuhan and her daughter tolerate this? They immediately took people to find this little lover and had to unload the goods in her belly. As a result, the mistress smelled the smell in advance and wanted to run away, but was afraid of being blocked at the door. After thinking about it, she came up with a bad idea. She stuffed money into the waiter of the homestay and exchanged her courtyard sign with the orange courtyard next to it. So Yuhan's mother and daughter sneaked into the yard with people, went straight to the bedroom and kicked open the door. What shocked them was not the chicken hatching eggs, but the lingering mandarin ducks. Originally, it would be fine if the wild mandarin ducks ran away, but they brought a low-ranking reporter with them and wanted to shoot an educational film, so that they could spread the smell outside and shock the other women outside. Anyway, President Yu has a good reputation. As long as they can hold on to the property, they are not afraid of exposing the family's dirty laundry. As a result, the educational film was not shot. But the paparazzi made a big news. The paparazzi knew Jin Chuhan, and he had been involved in such big news as the rich family holding the wrong child. If it were another paparazzi, he might have to consider whether to release it. But this paparazzi was not ordinary. He is a man who does not mind doing anything big. As long as there is heat, he dares to expose any information. Just like the cockroach, he will find a way to get into trouble. Otherwise, Yuhan's mother and daughter would not have found him. This method of evading the important and focusing on the trivial is also what he always likes to use, by the time someone reacts and needs to do public relations. It is too late. It has all leaked out. This is really a funny and wonderful story. As expected, the old ones are still the best. If it was just Yuhan, she would definitely not have done it so beautifully. It must be the work of Yuhan's mother. Not only did she help her precious daughter to make Jin Chuhan a mess, but she also eliminated the trouble. When the time comes, the Jin family will hold the Gu family accountable and directly push the little lover out. President Yu can only swallow her anger and let herself get rid of her anger. Next time President Yu wants to do something shady, she will have to think twice. The house number was changed by the little lover. Yuhan and her daughter were just handling household chores. After finding something wrong, they apologized and left directly. They also asked the paparazzi to hand over the camera in front of Gu Zian. No one expected that this paparazzi also had an invisible brooch-style camera on his body, and he was notoriously shameless, so he directly exposed the matter. No matter how angry the Jin family and the Gu family were, they could only vent their anger on the little lover, and at most slap the Yu family twice, but they could not really do anything. After all, the Yu family was not a soft persimmon, and there was no need to make trouble for the 2 families without reason. If the 2 families really wanted to take revenge, they would not be able to reach their current status without even caring about the situation. As for why this little lover suddenly ran to this homestay to take a hot spring bath, and happened to live next to the orange courtyard, whether the house number was really changed by her, it is unknown. Maybe just like my brother bought a ticket after seeing the poster when I passed by the theater. She just happened to hear or see something and had a sudden idea. In short, since Yuhan and her daughter dared to make such an arrangement, it means that they are not afraid of investigation. Even if it is really found out that Yuhan deliberately set up the trap, the fire will not burn me. I have been in the habit of going out for a walk with my brother these days. Yuhan was not in the theater that day. I was looking at the posters of the musical actors. My brother took the initiative to buy the tickets, not to mention that I am not familiar with Yuhan's good friends at all. We have never talked to each other. Even if we met, who would think so much? I was just unlucky to be eavesdropped. When I opened my recordings, all I heard were my blessings. It has nothing to do with me. It was Yuhan and the others who had bad intentions. I am different from the woman who relied on the system to be on an equal footing with me. She likes to use a soft knife to grind people, and blood will be splashed no matter what. And I like to kill people with borrowed knives without leaving any traces. It was so noisy at night. In the morning, the family looked unhappy. Mom's eyes were like walnuts from crying. Dad was talking on the phone in the study with a gloomy face, and my brother sat on the sofa without saying a word. Of course I knew they couldn't accept it, although Guzian pursued Jin Chuhan very hard. Jin Chuhan would shyly say that they had only known each other for a few months and wanted to try to get in touch with each other. When she mentioned Guzian in private, everyone thought that the two of them had not completely broken the window paper. But suddenly they learned that not only the window paper was broken, but everything was broken. I comforted my mother again and again. It doesn't matter. Anyway, everyone knows that our Jin family and Gu family have an engagement. Just take this opportunity to let them get engaged. It is understandable that the engaged couple can't help but do something out of the ordinary. Just go back and find a public relations person to clarify it. I stayed up all night and my face was haggard. I deliberately bit my lips and made several cuts. Before going downstairs, I put some mint toothpaste on my eyes to make them full of red bloodshot. I wanted to look more haggard than anyone else. But I also wished them a happy marriage more actively than anyone else. At this moment, my mother seemed to finally remember how much I liked Guzian before. She touched my face and cried again. Before Jin Chuhan came back, I enjoyed the long-lost love of the whole family, but this time, there was no ripple in my heart, because I no longer longed for it. I didn't understand before why my beloved parents suddenly became strangers. Because I didn't understand, I was unwilling to accept it. And the more unwilling I was, the more I wanted to take it back. But when I thought about everything, I suddenly felt that it didn't matter. Past life and present life, their love for me seemed to have turned into a thin layer of ice after Jin Chuhan appeared. As long as they heard a few of my evil deeds against Jin Chuhan, they were crushed to pieces. It was like I still didn't understand why my brother and Guzian in my previous life would give up their dignity and share a wife just to have Jin Chuhan. I still don't understand why my parents have become like this. I can only tell myself that they are no longer my true love. They have all become puppets. I found a suitable excuse for myself, using this excuse to squeeze out all the injustice in my heart. Only in this way can I live well. It wasn't until noon that Jin Chuhan came back, crying so hard that her eyes and nose were red, and Guzian accompanied her into the door. I noticed at a glance that Jin Chuhan had a new diamond ring on her hand, but I didn't know if it was yesterday's vow of love or today's token of love. Guzian knelt down in front of our whole family. He was full of apologies. He loved Chuhan too much, so he couldn't help but do something wrong yesterday. He would take responsibility. He had proposed to Chuhan before he came. Jin Chuhan lowered her head and sobbed softly, as if she was bullied by someone. If it wasn't for the wrong occasion, I would have scolded her. Why are you pretending? Isn't this what you and he want? Mom was just crying, and Dad and brother had a gloomy face and didn't express their opinions. I walked up to Jin Chuhan and handed her a few tissues, patted her twitching back, and said softly, "Don't cry. Mom and Dad don't really want to blame you. It's just too sudden. When you mentioned Guzian to us before, you said that we were just friends. Now it's like this. Everyone must not be able to accept it immediately." Guzian turned his head and looked at me suddenly. Jin Chuhan cried even harder after hearing this, and the surprise on Guzian's face suddenly turned into heartache. I turned around and whispered to my parents. With the help of my good sister, they finally calmed down and the atmosphere changed from a blaming to a family gathering. After several discussions, it was finally decided that the Gu family would come out immediately. Although the video news had been publicized, the impact was still there. The man must come out to clarify that they were an unmarried couple. Find a few good public relations companies to guide online public opinion in the direction of a sweet love story. The engagement banquet must also be mentioned to be held this month. It must be beautiful and grand, and outsiders must not look down on Chuhan. Guzian agreed to everything. After the matter was settled, my father didn't even want to look at Guzian. He drove him out of the door and turned back to the study. My mother took Jin Chuhan to the room to talk. Only my brother and I were left in the living room. My brother had been silent since the beginning of the conversation and only responded twice when he was asked for his opinion. He sat on the sofa with his body half bent, staring at his fingers, not knowing what he was thinking. I had been acting for the whole morning and my face was a little stiff, but I was happy when I thought about the system and the outsider's sullen look when talking about the engagement. The engagement in the previous life was completely used to stimulate my brother, so it was as low-key as possible, for fear that it would affect the subsequent capture of other people. But now it's the opposite. My good mood gave me more patience in my fatigue. I pretended that I just thought my brother couldn't accept the fact that his sister was suddenly going to get married and went up to persuade him. "Don't worry, even if she gets married, so what? We are a family, relatives. Even if she gets married, she is still your sister. And Gu Zian is so familiar with our family, he will never treat Chuhan badly. I know that as a brother, you love your sister the most and don't want her to suffer any grievances, but the incident has already happened. As relatives, we can only comfort her and minimize the impact. Fortunately, this time it was just a small matter of unmarried men and women crossing the line, which will not cause much bad impact. Otherwise, I think Chuhan and her parents will definitely not be able to bear the blow. Look at how she cried just now. She has always been very strong outside and can't stand being pointed at the most. Every word of my persuasion reminded him of the relationship between him and Jin Chuhan. Letting him see how fragile Jin Chuhan is, how she can't stand the storm and pointing it all, and how her parents are emotionally affected by this daughter, I saw his face getting grayer and grayer. When love stretches its leaves and blooms, negative emotions are the best fertilizer. But if it is just budding, it will be a heavy stone. Brother, be happy. Chuhan and Gu Zian love each other so much. We should bless them. I think if I were a snake, I would spit out a bright red tongue when I lied beside my brother and said this. Yuhan also came to the engagement party. She wore a white veiled long dress and a pink diamond ring on her hand, looking a bit like a bride. Jin Baozhu, her makeup was delicate, but you could still see her tiredness when you got close to her, as if she hadn't slept well for a long time. I thought I would lose to you. She didn't look at me, but just stared at the figure of Gu Zian and Jin Chuhan holding hands on the high platform. She didn't seem to need my response. And continued to talk to herself. I know you did it on purpose in the theater that day. You must have planned it for me. I don't believe you can't see what kind of person this Jin Chuhan is. Your man was taken away by such a thing, with your personality. You won't sincerely bless them even if you fight with them until your head is broken, not to mention crying outside. I have fought with you for so many years, and I still understand you about this. She smiled when she said this. But she was not happy. I also know why you chose me, just like I understand you. You also know that even if I know it is a trap, I will definitely jump into it. Her hand with the diamond ring was tilted as if waiting for another hand to hold it. Pink diamond ring is Gu Zian's favorite. Although he grew up to be fierce, he loved to watch some cartoons for little girls when he was a child. He was more fascinated than me. I forgot which cartoon it was that the little bride had a big and bright pink diamond ring. He remembered it from then on and kept saying that he would also use a pink diamond ring when he got married. Today is his engagement ceremony, but the ring is sapphire because Jin Chuhan likes sapphire. But Yuhan came with a pink diamond ring. I know what Yuhan's fate was in her last life, and I was still alive at that time. She did not give up Gu Zian because of Jin Chuhan's appearance. She was like a moth flying into a flame, desperately hitting the light bulb of an incandescent lamp. In the end, she always opposed Jin Chuhan and even wanted to find someone to kidnap Jin Chuhan and destroy her, which completely angered the Jin and Gu families, in order to preserve Yu's enterprise, which was madly retaliated by the Jin and Gu families. Yuhan's father abandoned Yuhan and offered her to calm the incident. Yuhan's mother tried to stop it like crazy, but it was useless. Because Yuhan's father had a beloved little lover and a new son, without the threat of the Jin and Gu families, he had already designed a dead end for the mother and daughter. As for Yuhan's twin brother, he finally chose to take part of the property and go abroad to settle the matter. Yuhan's fate was miserable. When Yuhan's mother took her away from the Gu family, she was already crazy. Yuhan's mother took her to the beach and jumped into the sea with her. When they were fished out, the mother and daughter were tied together with a rope. In fact, she didn't have to end up like this. She and I both knew that no matter how much we loved that man, there were some bottom lines that could not be broken, because one move could affect the whole body. The higher we stood, the more cautious we would be. So over the years, whether it was an open or secret fight, neither of us had ever taken it seriously. It's a pity that in the end, she and I became gamblers who lost their money under the guidance of outsiders. Yuhan, forget about Gu Zian. Yuhan didn't answer me. The ceremony on the stage had already reached the exchange of engagement letters. Her eyes were red. Yuhan's mother in the crowd also had red eyes. Yuhan was for a man who didn't love her, and Yuhan's mother was for a daughter who didn't love herself. In fact, Yuhan's mother didn't need to take risks. She could have dealt with that woman more safely. But she was willing to do anything for Yuhan. In fact, Yuhan didn't know that I had envied her since my last life. What if she didn't have Gu Zian? She still had someone who loved her so much. If I had such a person by my side, even if I couldn't hear the conversation between the system, I wouldn't have ended up like that. So before I knew that Gu Zian and Jin Chuhan had been having an affair, I asked someone to get the pregnancy report of Mr. Yu's mistress and handed it to Yuhan's mother anonymously. She is a smart hunter, but many victories have made her lazy. But as long as she smells a little smell in advance, she can find the prey no matter how deep it is buried. It seems that the old saying that good people are rewarded is still reasonable. I have benefited from such a little kindness now. The ceremony on the stage is over, and it's time for me to go on stage to send blessings to the newlyweds. After the engagement ceremony, I heard a lot of complaints from the system and Jin Chuhan, because when Jin Chuhan and Guzian kissed in the blessing, my brother's favorability dropped by 5%. At this time, we naturally have to strike while the iron is hot. The next day, I brought another good news to Jin Chuhan. My brother is going abroad. The group has a branch overseas whose business expansion has not been going smoothly recently. Dad wants to recommend a capable person from the group to handle it. I took the initiative to reveal this news to my brother, encouraging him to fight for this opportunity with my father, and to exercise his crisis management ability. My brother has now vaguely realized his feelings for Jin Chuhan. This is unforgivable for him. As the adopted son of the Jin family, he always feels this kindness, so he has always loved the blood of the Jin family as a guardian. It used to be me, and now it is Jin Chuhan, but now he has such a rebellious mind. The overwhelming fear and self-blame have made him restless these days, and he has become thinner and thinner. He also witnessed the engagement ceremony with his own eyes, and his mood has fallen to the bottom. At this time, there is a suitable opportunity to avoid the person who makes him flustered, and he naturally can't wait. Jin Chuhan was not willing to do so. Under the urging of the system, she was eager to find her brother to stay. I had expected her to do this, so I stayed in her room for half an hour last night. During that half an hour, I kept describing to her how happy I was for Jin Chuhan and Guzian. For her brother now, the happier Jin Chuhan was, the more he felt that he was an eyesore, so he went to the airport early in the morning, without even saying goodbye to Jin Chuhan, and became a loser who ran away in love. Jin Chuhan cursed in the room for a whole day, and I drank coffee in the living room and listened to her voice with relish. The system did not move at all. Jin Chuhan called him all day and he only replied a few words occasionally. System, what's wrong with you? Why are you so indifferent to me today? I'm almost angry. Help me think of a way. I must kill that damn Yuhan. Give me some props. Hurry up, host. With your current points, you can only redeem a few low-level props. How could this happen? Where are my points? Don't I have thousands of points? Host, you have used all those points to transform your body. I am not doing this to hold on to Guzian, and you have been encouraging me to redeem more props and make myself more attractive. I am also considering the host. You have already taken Guzian, and the progress with Jinchini is also going smoothly. It is logical that you will take him down. I didn't expect that Yuhan would suddenly appear. And Jinchini was stimulated to go abroad. The system's voice sounds muffled. It is like a hedgehog rolling into my ears. Listen, what a proud attitude, as if we are just puppets in their eyes, and we do whatever they tell us to do. That's right, if it were a game. Repeating the strategy again and again would be similar to an idle dungeon for the system. How could he bear to put in so much effort? What should I do now? System, please help me think of a solution, otherwise I will go abroad to find Jinchini. You just got engaged. Guzian will definitely not let you go. He will definitely go abroad with you. As soon as you got engaged, Jinchini's favorability dropped and he left. If you two follow him again, it may be counterproductive. Alas, I originally thought that the closer you are to the water, the better. I arranged Jinchini as the second target of the strategy. Now that it has become like this, I can only advance the other strategy characters. In any case, host, you have to earn more points before you can do the task. New character. Great. Introduce it to me quickly. What is it like? I have sent you the information of the new character. Take a good look at it. It contains all his favorite foods and colors. His name is Shinmu. His father is an American who sells arms. His mother is an opera singer, a Chinese. He is now the general manager of a technology company. On the surface, he makes electronic products, but secretly he is still engaged in arms business. He is still abroad. I was going to let you meet him when he returns to China in 2 months, but now, I must let you meet him in advance. Wow, mixed blood. And he has a gangster background? This is too exciting. He is so handsome. And his green eyes are so beautiful. System, I feel like I am falling in love with him. Hurry up and arrange a meeting for me, or you can go abroad with Guzian when the time comes. I will give you his coordinates and you can create an encounter. Shinmu, it's a long-lost name. Among Jin Shohan's men, he is the third one I have seen when I was alive. Except for Guzian and his brother, he is a man as dirty and vicious as a wild wolf. The men who took me away in the middle of the night, humiliated me, and filmed me were arranged by him. I will never forget those disgusting green eyes. I thought I could calm down the past memories, but when I saw Shinmu again, I realized that I had never been calm. I just used the pleasure of revenge to temporarily numb myself. That miserable night, I lay naked on the ground like a pile of garbage. The black hole of the camera head was like a cold eye examining my disemboweled soul. Shinmu sat in the shadow of the corner. I couldn't see his face clearly. I could only see his slender fingers knocking on the back of the chair. The dim light faintly reflected his green eyes. It was as if someone had peeled off a piece of flesh and blood and stuffed this picture in. The foreign body sensation was grinding the wound all the time, making it difficult to heal. I regretted this decision for a short time. When I heard the system carefully explain Shinmu's past and Shinmu's preferences to Jin Chuhan, and persuaded Jin Chuhan over and over again to capture Shinmu as soon as possible, I had a bold idea. I wanted to meet Shinmu first, and make him fall in love with me first. Even if I couldn't do it, I had to prevent him from falling in love with Jin Chuhan and stop him from contributing points. This is my only way at the moment. If I want to defeat the system, I must prevent him from receiving energy. So I came to the United States first. Although I don't have Shinmu's exact coordinates, I know the address of his company. I rented an apartment nearby, and wandered around pretending to find a job for several days, and finally met Shinmu today. It's just that I overestimated myself. When Shinmu appeared in my sight, anger was like a rampaging wind, and I couldn't stop it. I bit off a small piece of meat from my mouth alive, and the pain was pushed into my brain by the taste of rust. I just calmed down and rushed up to stop Shinmu, who was about to step into the company's door. Shinmu, do you remember Xiao Yueya? Xiao Yueya is the girl Shinmu has been looking for, and is also the identity that the outsider used to contact Shinmu in the previous life. When I shouted these 3 words, the expression on Shinmu's face was like the leader of the wolf pack who was suddenly driven out of the wolf pack, with doubts and disbelief, and a hint of hope. I was taken to Shinmu's office. This place is like a wildlife museum. Animal specimens are displayed everywhere. I sat on the sofa, stepping on the skin of a white tiger, and a golden eagle stood on the dead tree bonsai in front of me. Shinmu stood in front of a pair of ivory with his back to me. I don't know what he was thinking. He has not spoken since I said that. He just waved to the bodyguards and they brought me up. Such tacit understanding made me wonder how many people they brought up like this, and how many people could leave intact. My palms were sweating. I have seen many big scenes, but for a moody desperado like Shinmu, I have to prepare for the worst every moment when facing him. Shinmu suddenly raised his hand and touched his left ear. I adjusted my sight and looked in the direction, and then I noticed that he was wearing an invisible Bluetooth headset on his ear. It seemed that someone was talking to Shinmu. Miss Jean. He suddenly spoke and turned to look at me. I knew what was said in the headset. It was my identity information. It has been less than half an hour since I met Shinmu. These people are really quick, Mr. Shen. I calmed down, met Shinmu's eyes, and smiled. It seems that you already know who I am, so let's be frank. Shinmu didn't say anything. He walked to the sofa on the side and sat down. It seems that Miss Jean knows my affairs very well. It can't be said that she knows, but she just happens to know how to resolve Mr. Shen's regret. Oh, regret? Miss Jean, why don't you tell me about it? Shinmu narrowed his eyes slightly, raised his arm and put it on the sofa, tapping the armrest lightly with his fingers. I know that Shinmu made this move because he was considering whether to attack me, like the fangs exposed by a jackal before hunting. This move is Shinmu's hunting signal, a habit he deliberately left behind. You are looking for a woman. She is Vietnamese, and her name is Xiao Yueya, which you gave her, although I don't know what entanglement there is between you two. I know Xiao Yueya. In fact, I don't know Xiao Yueya, but I know your past. When you were 14 years old, you were kidnapped by a criminal gang, and your parents gave up on you for the sake of profit. A boy made of gold abandoned his dignity to survive, became a begging dog, and flattered the kidnappers. Chuhan is my sister. I can only sincerely wish them happiness, and Chuhan doesn't want this to be known to others, and I don't know whether I should tell my brother. Forget it. Zhe Yan should have been Chuhan's fiancé. I should help them, because Xiao Yueya is the child of a Vietnamese man in the gang, only 10 years old, just a little taller than the table, serving her father like a servant, and those scumbags, but they are your only comfort. A few mouthfuls of hot soup secretly left behind, worn out but warm enough clothes, a few words of pleas when being beaten, painkillers stolen from the box, change stuffed under the pillow. Like the moonlight shining through the leaky wooden board every night. You call her Little Crescent Moon? This is the first time she has a name, not an interjection. She is humble and thin, like the mud on the roadside, which will be washed away by the rain, but she has molded herself into a bodhisattva statue. This clay bodhisattva secretly saved up the travel expenses for you, helped you delay time, and let you run out to find your parents. You are like a vine returning to the big tree, and your innocent green eyes only have the longing for your parents and the hatred for the kidnappers. You entangled with it again, desperately taking root, and at the age of 19 you strangled the big tree you relied on to death, turning them into ashes and nutrients under your feet. You are no longer a vine, you have grown hands and feet. You traveled through mountains and rivers to find the group of people who turned you into a dog, and vented the hatred accumulated over the years on them. Leaving no one alive, you still want to find your little crescent moon, but she had long been sold by her father to a passing Mexican man, and the little person was exchanged for a roll of banknotes. You have been looking for her whereabouts all these years, but this world is too big. I know her whereabouts and her later life, but I can't promise to take you to find her, because she died a long time ago. These things are what I learned from Jin Chuhan after my death. A bad story pieced together from intermittent words. The little clay Buddha was trampled and turned into a handful of mud before he could take her across the river, but his name was picked up, washed and carried on his body after his death. That person came to you with this name and fabricated a false past with the help of the system. She is attached to you like a kitten who finally found a home, when her smile is no longer the vagueness behind her name. She can find an excuse to reveal her true identity. You hate betrayal the most. You should burn her to death on the cross, but your heart has long been captured by her. You can't do it. You can only drive her away. She shouted her love for you at the top of her lungs. You covered your ears and didn't want to be deceived by her again, but she used her life to prove her love for you. When she blocked the bullet for you, you also died for the second time. The first time was the night when you were abandoned by your parents. For the next 10 years, you lived like a skinned ghost, bloody, and there was only hatred in your heart. This is the second time you have regained your skin, and you finally understand how much you want such a person to appear in your life. You have turned from a wild wolf into a tamed dog again, but what you don't know is that when the bullet came, the trajectory had been calculated by the system. And a prop was used to choose an angle that would hurt but not hurt your life, and the pain was minimized. The blood on the ground is actually only your pain. I know that Jin Chuhan has chosen the same identity to approach you, so I want to cut off their path. She is dead. She died 7 years ago. After I said this, Shinmu pinched my neck and pressed me down on the soft carpet. The feeling of suffocation turned into tears welling up in my eyes, in my tearful eyes. I saw the golden eagle standing on the dead tree flying up and landing on the side of Shinmu. Those yellow eyes were like stones, touching my skin with a chill. You lied. Shinmu's voice was hoarse, and the short 3 words seemed to roll out of the dry flesh and blood, covered with blood foam. It hurt too much. As if the larynx was crushed, I couldn't breathe, and the blood vessels on my face were about to burst. I raised my arm with difficulty, but didn't tear Shinmu's hand pinching my neck. I used all my remaining strength to slap Shinmu hard. The crisp sound made the golden eagle open its wings again, and Shinmu let go of his hand while waving. Fresh air rushed into my body, stimulating me to the point that I almost coughed up blood. It took me a long time to calm down, and I looked at Shinmu with tears in my eyes. He half knelt on the tiger skin carpet. His face was very calm, and that calmness seemed to be stretched by someone pulling his face skin tight. If you tell the truth, I won't kill you. When he spoke, his lips moved very little, and his voice was also very small. He was a mixed race, very white, abnormally white, and the place where I hit him gradually became red and swollen. Speak. It was as if someone suddenly threw a stone and broke the porcelain bottle, and his calmness was broken so abruptly. He jumped up, took out a gun from behind the ivory display case, strode forward, and pressed the gun hard against my forehead, so hard. It seemed like he hit me head-on. I'm telling the truth. My throat was pinched like a broken gong, and I had to use all my strength to make a little harsh sound. I know he didn't disbelieve me, he just couldn't accept it. His gun was not on safety. A person who licks blood on the tip of a knife would not make this mistake if he touched the gun unless he didn't want to kill anyone. As early as when he knew that Xiao Yueya was sold, he actually guessed that she might have died. But he didn't want to face it. He really turned her into the moon, hanging in the sky like that, untouchable. But when he missed her, he could see it by looking up. In recent years, those who wanted to fish in troubled waters for benefits died more miserably than one another. So no one dared to mention these 3 words in front of him, let alone put this name together with the word death. In fact, when Jin Chuhan appeared, did he really not doubt it? He was so suspicious. I guess he might have investigated Jin Chuhan but couldn't find anything due to the interference of the system. Even if he doubted it in his heart, he chose to keep Jin Chuhan by his side. He didn't love Xiao Yueya at all, nor did he want to repay her. Xiao Yueya was his only remaining attachment to humanity. He needed such a person to remind him that he could be loved, so he was willing to make the best of a bad situation, because memories would fade and he needed to repaint them. Shinmu, cough cough cough, I didn't lie to you. I didn't come to you today to exchange this news for any benefits. I didn't come for you. I came for Xiao Yueya. The force of the gun against my forehead gradually loosened. I breathed a sigh of relief, but the next second, I saw Shinmu turn the gun in his hand with one hand, and the butt of the gun slammed down on me fiercely. Mad dog, really a mad dog. When I woke up in the cellar, my mind was full of this sentence. I felt deeply annoyed. I took it for granted, since I recalled the past. I have unconsciously put myself in the same God's perspective as the outsider, consciously knowing everything and being able to deploy every step. I should be more cautious. The Shinmu I saw was the one with a collar next to the outsider, and I completely forgot how crazy he was at this time. I don't know how long I have been locked up in this cellar, maybe 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days. This cellar has no windows or clocks. I can't judge the time accurately. Only hunger is slowly stretched by the darkness. When I was about to be knocked down by the weakness of dehydration, Shinmu came, the moment he walked in with the light behind him. I felt a tremor all over my body. I restrained the urge to pounce on the light, and my teeth were about to break. I knew Shinmu's purpose. Trapping a person in a space without light, food, or water can destroy a person's mind in a short period of time, just like a deprivation experiment. It's been 3 days, you're still tough. Shinmu wore a pair of leather boots. The hard soles stepped on the gravel ground. The thumping sound echoed throughout the cellar. Like the sound of drums that made my nerves stand up. I've imprisoned a lot of people here, and few are as calm as you. You're the first woman. He held a glass bottle in his hand, which was filled with more than half a bottle of water, and it swayed gently as he walked. I couldn't take my eyes off the bottle of water. It was magnified and stretched in my sight, as if it had become a river that was about to drown me, and I couldn't wait. Shinmu smiled along my sight, and he walked in front of me with the water. I wanted to stand up, but I really had no strength. Being able to half sit against the wall was my limit. I saw Shinmu hold the water bottle in front of me and slowly unscrew the cap. Every arc of the cap seemed to pull my sight out of the thread. And when the last circle of the click sounded, my mind was in a mess, and I couldn't help but jump forward, but I had to hold it back. Sweat instantly covered my whole body. Oh. Shinmu raised his eyebrows and laughed even more happily. Like a child teasing a butterfly, he raised his hand and poured water over my head. Every inch of my skin seemed to have grown a mouth suddenly, crying desperately, trying to suck a drop of water. I bit my tongue tightly, biting out a mouthful of fishy smell. If it was a stranger who made this move today, I probably couldn't help but open my mouth wide and stick out my tongue to chase this water line. But the person who did this was Shinmu. When reason was destroyed and only instincts were left, all I had left was hatred for him, and this hatred sealed my mouth like tape. When the water bottle was emptied, I heard a howl from my body. Interesting. Miss Jean, you are really interesting. Shinmu laughed a little out of control, and his green eyes were as thick as jade that was about to drip juice. He threw away the bottle, bent down, and grabbed my hair. He must have used a lot of force. But I couldn't feel the pain anymore. He stared at me with wide eyes, as if he had found a new toy. Are you really Jean Baoju, the rich lady? Aren't all of you women as delicate as flowers? I had a lot to say, but my already injured throat was stuck by thirst, and I could only make a hissing sound. If it were an ordinary woman, I might need some effort to find out the details, but you ladies all want to turn yourselves into gemstone display cabinets, so I can easily find out your life. His hand touching my face was rough and covered with calluses. You have an interesting past. According to an old Chinese saying, you are a civet cat pretending to be a prince. I was worried that it would be troublesome to deal with you if I killed you, but now your relatives are all around the real prince. And no one cares whether you live or die. I couldn't speak. I could only stare into his eyes. Before fighting, wild animals would stare into each other's eyes. Whoever dodges first will lose. I saw a lot of things in his eyes. I finally understood that I made a wrong move. This guy knew that Xiao Yueya was dead a long time ago. He must have found out something, whether in this life or in the past life, but he just didn't recognize her. Not only did he not recognize her, but when the outsider appeared with the name of Xiao Yueya, he was like a cat that hadn't seen a mouse for a long time, letting her play tricks. The physical weakness made my mind extremely clear. Like a last glimmer of light, Shinmu, who I had seen every time before, passed quickly in front of my eyes. His appearance was blurry, but his eyes were bright, so bright that I could see every emotion in him. He was different from those men. He didn't love the outsider so much that he tolerated her half-heartedness. On the contrary, he didn't love the outsider enough, so he tolerated everything. He didn't care why the outsider blocked the bullet for him. He just wanted someone to block the bullet for him. I even began to doubt whether he had someone shoot the bullet. The little crescent moon could no longer fill the growing emptiness in his heart. He needed a new love, a love that made him, a walking corpse, feel alive. It didn't matter if it was fake. The fake was brighter and harder to fade than the real one. He didn't necessarily not love the outsider. He just loved himself more. He didn't surrender to the outsider. He just let himself indulge in the illusion of love, poor, too pitiful. He was more pitiful than those men begging for love. He had no love in his heart. I think my pity was probably revealed through my eyes. Shinmu's face became colder and colder, and his eyes began to be bloodshot. When his green was about to break, I didn't care that my hair was still being torn and leaned forward, and kissed him on the lips, just a touch of a dragonfly on the water. The green that was about to break solidified. This kiss was disgusting but refreshing, like dancing on hatred. Before I passed out, I thought, even if I made a wrong move, I would not lose. The game has just begun. Shinmu took me out of the cellar and kept me by his side. He did not ask me why I kissed him, if there was any other purpose, or if I was willing to stay. I did not explain why I kissed him, if there was any other purpose, or if I was willing to stay. The little crescent moon became a topic that came to an abrupt end. I could feel that we were competing with each other. Although I could not tell what we were competing for, I knew he felt the same way. I have a serious stomach disease, and I was starved for so many days, which almost cost me half my life. I couldn't get enough fluids even after several days of infusion. It was as if my stomach was full of sulfuric acid when I was sick. Jin Chuhan and Guzian also arrived in the United States. I did something before I came out, and I would receive a message as long as Jin Chuhan left the country. Speaking of which, I left home for 2 weeks under the pretext of traveling to relax, except for my brother who contacted me. No one else in the Jin family had any movement. I should have felt disappointed about this kind of thing, but now I just feel relieved. My brother sent me a greeting message as usual during lunch. He had been away for a while, and I guess Jin Chuhan must have sent him messages frequently, expressing his longing and reluctance, and expressing his hope that he would come back soon, so I would send him messages whenever I had time, in addition to sharing the trivialities of life and travel. I told him more about how sweet Jin Chuhan and Guzian were, and told him to rest assured and not to worry about Jin Chuhan. On one side is the earnest yearning, on the other side is the striking affection. Like a saw pulling at my brother's fragile emotional nerves. When I replied to my brother's message, I mentioned that I came to the United States. My brother was typing a few words and went up and down several times before replying to me. I heard from Chuhan that she also went to the United States. Is she with you? No, I don't know. Did she come too? She should be with Zay Yen. She just got engaged, so she wants to have a small honeymoon. There was no reply from the other side. But I took advantage of his words to contact Jin Chuhan and made an appointment with her. The bruises on my neck from being pinched have not disappeared yet. I covered them with special effects makeup concealer and brought a silk scarf, swallowed a handful of painkillers, put on a healthy makeup, and checked in the mirror carefully before leaving the house with peace of mind. I am now living in Shinmu's villa, probably due to the influence of the little crescent moon. This villa has a Southeast Asian atmosphere everywhere, and the garden is full of tropical plants. Shinmu was standing under a palm tree. A fat white man was kneeling in front of him, kissing his shoes, begging Shinmu to spare his life. Shinmu was peeling an apple with a dagger, staring at the man with a smile, a blatant tease. The longer I stayed with him, the more I felt he was a pervert. I could have gone out the other way, but seeing him there, I took the path in the garden. Shinmu saw it, but didn't ask me where I was going, just pointed the dagger at the bodyguard. The bodyguard pulled the begging man and forced him to raise his neck. As the man cried heartbreakingly, Shinmu cut his neck with a dagger. It wasn't a smooth cut like in the movies. There were muscle fibers and cartilage on the neck. It was more like a sawing than a cut. Blood spurted out and splashed all over Shinmu, and most of his face was covered in blood. The man didn't die immediately, but twitched like a fish. I haven't seen what it's like to kill a pig, but I guess it's similar. In my eyes, Shinmu is not as good as those butchers. I'm not afraid. I just think he's disgusting. This is the second person he killed in the garden in front of me. I even suspect that this garden is full of corpses. So the flowers are so lush. I know Shinmu has been watching me. The man bled a lot, winding like a red snake crawling out of the grass. I raised my high heels to step over the red snake and walked out of the garden through the smell of blood. I walked a long way before I got rid of the strange feeling brought by Shinmu's eyes. It was like being licked by a wolf with a mouthful of blood foam. I went to the hotel where Jin Chuhan was staying to wait for her. Before she arrived, I heard the voice of the system host. Why does this Jin Baoju want you? She probably came to see me after hearing what my brother said. I don't believe that she doesn't love Guzian. You saw how ugly her dead face was when Guzian knelt down at the Jin family. She still pretended to be gentle and considerate. I'm not like those people in the Jin family who would be fooled by her and think that she really changed her personality. I feel that she is a little weird, but it's nothing. After all, it's impossible to be exactly the same every time. As long as the general direction is right, it's fine. The system's voice was a little vague when it said the latter part. Every time? Have you done the mission in this world many times? Aren't there many small worlds? Don't we have to go to other worlds after completing this world? Nothing. I was just thinking about Jean Baozhu. Oh, don't think too much. She is not a big deal. If you care about her so much, just give me a prop and I will get rid of her directly. This is definitely not possible, host. She is the main character of this small world. We can guide her life trajectory to change and make her self-destruct, but we can't directly get rid of her, otherwise it will affect the entire small world. Okay, it's really troublesome. It's okay, host, Jean Baozhu is just a supporting role. It's no big deal. What's more, Gu Xian is yours now, and the Jean family doesn't care much about her. Let's deal with her slowly. Now the most important thing is to work hard to gain points. Although Jean Chini has a little problem, his favorability is already very high. We just need to work harder to win him. Let's solve Shenmue here, save points, and then go to conquer him.
Yeah.
So you can't get rid of me directly? This is the best news I have heard in such a long time. It's so good that when I saw Jean Chuhan, the smile I showed was full of sincerity. She greeted me in a pretentious manner, without a third person present. Her attitude was very perfunctory. I could see the disdain in her eyes. I roughly knew what I was like in her eyes. A young lady who was originally full of pride, was willing to become obedient and tolerant for the sake of wealth and status, and had to watch her beloved man being taken away by her. She had to grit her teeth and bless him even though her face was full of pain, although they tried to provoke my anger several times and wanted me to fall into a drama of tearing with her. But my cautious attitude made them feel the pleasure of stepping on me to a great extent, so they naturally looked down on me. What's more, I have always been secretly avoiding their tricks. The tricks I did on my brother were also smooth sailing, like boiling a frog in warm water, and it didn't make any waves. The only time I took the initiative to attack was with Yuhan's hand. So far, in their eyes, I was just an obstacle, but not an opponent. But now the situation is different. I approached Shenmue, and it was no longer a private affair behind the scenes. If they found out, they would definitely suspect me. So the purpose of my coming here today is to find out what the system will do if it finds something wrong with me. As a result, they poured out a basket of information before I had time to perform. I listened to Jean Chuhan seemingly casually mentioning Gu Xian's love for her, and put on a forced smile at the right time. Jean Chuhan was very satisfied, and I was also satisfied. I left without seeing Gu Xian. If it were 2 months ago, I would definitely find a chance to take a look at him. It's different now. Now when I think of the 20 years I spent with him, it's as vague as a movie I've seen. I saw the tears, laughter, joy and anger, but I can't remember what it felt like in the past. I sought love and got hurt. Now I understand that the so-called love is something that cannot be seen through. Once you see through it, that person is just an ordinary man. On the way, I started the plan I had prepared long ago and quietly spread the net. After everything was arranged, I returned to Shenmue. He seemed to be idle every day, staying in the villa all the time. When I entered the door, he was tanning an antelope skin, and the living room was a mess. You're back. How are you? Are you happy to see your old love's new love? I knew he would find someone to follow me. Are you bored? Don't you have to go to the company every day? I walked over and poured myself a glass of warm water. My throat hasn't healed yet, and it hurts again after chatting with Jean Chuhan today.
Yeah.
I'm very bored. He touched the fur as if he was stroking a woman's skin. If he didn't have a good skin, his behavior would be as disgusting as it could be. Do you like that man very much? If I were you, I would kill that woman directly, take the person back, and kill all the people in your family, hold all the property in my hands, and do whatever I want. I took off my high heels, held the water cup in one hand and sat on the sofa. The large fur blanket on it was so soft that I couldn't help but squint my eyes. Shenmue, is violence all you can do to solve problems? Shenmue turned his head. He was too much like a wild animal, cruel with the primitive innocence of an animal. Isn't violence the fastest way to solve problems? Yes, it's also the fastest way to die. Are you still afraid of death? Maybe because he grew up abroad. Although Shenmue's Chinese is good, his tone is strangely mellow and drawn out, mixed with the rustling sound of fur rubbing against each other. It has a hypnotic effect. I turned the glass in my hand, leaned on the sofa and closed my eyes. The pain in my stomach made me very tired. Being afraid of death and not seeking death are two different things. Shenmue, there are not many people who are as dissatisfied with their lives as you are. Oh, then I'm going to kill you now. A sudden chill came from my neck. It was the texture of metal. I could guess what Shenmue was doing without opening my eyes. You're really boring.
Yeah.
So I keep you just for fun. If you don't give me fun, I'll kill you. Well, the last time I heard something similar was from two kids. If you don't give me toys, I'll beat you. Sometimes I really wonder if Shinmu is trapped in the year of 14, he can't grow up, so he can only go crazy. Shinmu, you can tell me directly, just tell me what you want. Do you want someone to eat with you? Do you want someone to take a walk with you? Many things are not that difficult to get as long as you say them out loud. The coldness on my neck came closer, and Shinmu didn't speak, but I know Shinmu will understand what I mean. That day in the cellar, I saw everything clearly in his eyes. And he also knew what I saw in my eyes, so he has been provoking and testing me these days. If it were an outsider, he would have probably poured love and pity on me in the name of redemption. It seems that what he is facing is not a pervert who kills indiscriminately and brutally. Rather, he is a child who, because of lack of love and misfortune, hides under the bed and tears the ears of a little bear to vent his anger. But I won't do that. It's not just because Shinmu and I know each other very well, and we can't act blindly like outsiders. But even if there is no old hatred, I will never accept a person like Shinmu, although I have always been vindictive. I will not use emotional trauma as an excuse to do evil and hurt innocent people. People who do that are cowards, unable to bear the pain in their hearts. They are twisted by emotions and choose to vent their pain on innocent people, hoping to fill the emptiness in their hearts with the flesh and blood of others. But the flesh and blood will only accumulate and melt, so I won't hold Shinmu's face and tell him that I am distressed like outsiders. That's the way to train a dog. What I want to train is a wolf, Shinmu. I opened my eyes and called him. Shinmu was bent over, supported by one arm, and his open arms trapped me on the sofa. If he hadn't held a sharp skinning knife against my neck in his other hand, this would be a sign of intimacy. Let's eat mutton tonight. It's our first time eating together. Let someone prepare it better. Jin Baozhu, you really dare to point fingers at me? Do you really think I won't kill you? I didn't think so. I'm just not afraid of death, so I came to get close to you. Shenmu's face was very close to me. I could almost feel his warm breath falling on my lips. I saw my smile in his green eyes. You should have investigated it clearly a long time ago. Before I came to the United States, I collected a lot of information about you, and I also specially collected information about Xiao Yueya as a stepping stone to get close to you. Don't you want to know why I went to such great lengths to get close to you? Do you think I haven't met a woman like you before? Are you going to tell me next that you are in love with me? If you need to, I can tell you this. I raised my finger and scratched Shinmu's throat with my nails, leaving a series of red marks. The knife that Shinmu held against my neck did not move. Shinmu, put the knife down. Only children use weapons to scare others. Roast the lamb a little tenderer, and I will tell you what I want to do. Squeak, squeak. The fork in Shinmu's hand slid across the plate again and again. The sound was like nails scratching on a blackboard, which gave me goosebumps. Shinmu, don't scratch the plate with your knife and fork. It's noisy. If you're not used to using a knife and fork, you can also use chopsticks. You're half Chinese, so you should know how to use them. Miss Jean, aren't you ladies the most concerned about table manners? You're asking me to use chopsticks when eating Western food. Shinmu circled the knife and fork on the plate, looking at me with squinted eyes. I'm really fed up with his childish and neurotic behavior. First of all, table manners are an act of respect for the person you're dining with. I don't think there's a clear concept for this. Finishing a meal well and not behaving impolitely is also a kind of respect. But obviously your behavior just now was not. Secondly, food is for people, not for people to serve food. As long as it's convenient for you to use, it's your personal freedom to use any utensils to eat. I couldn't help but sigh at this. I'm very hungry, so I want to fill my stomach first before talking to you about business. If you can't wait, you can tell me directly. Don't bother me with these actions. Okay. Shinmu smiled and said nothing, putting down his knife and fork. What a pity for this plate of excellent lamb chops. I put down my knife and fork, took off my napkin, and ended the dinner. Okay, let's get down to business now. My purpose in coming to you is very simple. Because my sister Jean Chuhan wants to get close to you. Although I don't know what her purpose is in getting close to you, I always want to disrupt her situation. Oh, you want to get rid of her and then take back that Gu thing? His name is Gu Xian. I have nothing to do with him anymore. Please don't drag us together. I do things for my own consideration. Anyway, I know that Jean Chuhan intends to replace Xiao Yueya's identity to get close to you, so I came to you first, intending to pretend that I know Xiao Yueya and owe her a favor, so I came to tell you the news of her death in order to repay her. Shinmu crossed his hands and placed them on his chin, listening with relish as if he were listening to a fairy tale, but the words he said were very unpleasant. Oh, I see. You two sisters want to use me, and you use my little crescent to use me. Are you looking for death? I hate it most when others use me, and why do you think you can deceive me? Do you think I'm a fool? Shenmu's words made me a little embarrassed. Because I can hear the conversation of the system and have memories of the past, I unconsciously feel complacent about being able to calculate the first opportunity, so I made this plan impulsively. It is impossible for Shinmu to climb to his current position only by being ruthless. I took it for granted and even thought that if outsiders can deceive him, why can't I? I have deeply reflected on this in the past few days. I was careless, so I was punished, wasn't I? You told me all this. Don't you want me to help you deal with your sister? Why? I didn't ask you to deal with her. I was just telling you this. You're bored, so I'm giving you some fun, and since you hate cheating, there's no reason to punish only me. Shinmu didn't respond. He rolled his eyes, picked up the fork next to the plate, poked it into the wine glass next to him, and stirred it with the fork. The ice ball inside made a clanging sound when it hit the cup. After stirring it twice, he poked the fork hard on the ice ball, breaking the melted ice ball into several pieces, splashing some ice chips. He threw away the fork and put his fingers into the cup to grab a few pieces of broken ice. His fingers were slender and beautiful, and they seemed to be shining under the light. After being wetted by the wine, he pinched the ice cubes and threw them into his mouth, chewing them with a crunching sound. Many times I couldn't understand what Shinmu was doing, but it didn't matter. It was normal for me not to understand his perversion. I just needed him to understand what I said. Those yellow eyes were like stones, touching my skin with a cool feeling. Cry. But she will definitely come to you. Although I don't know what her purpose is. I think you can't tolerate someone with ulterior motives around you, right? Then I will kill her. Shinmu stretched out his voice. Do you want me to say that? Or do you want to arouse my rebelliousness? The more you ask me to deal with her, the more I will ignore her? I don't think so. I told you this just because things have developed to this point. You investigated me so clearly. When Jin Chuhan approached you, it was hard for you not to think of me. I didn't want to cause trouble for myself, so I made it clear to you in advance. Oh, I think your sister is pretty good. Since she threw herself at me, why should I refuse? Whatever happens between you and that woman is your freedom. I have already said that this is just a fun thing I found for you. What you do is your business. This is what I want to say. Since dinner is over, I will go upstairs to rest. I haven't walked out of the dining room yet, and I heard the sound of plates and dishes breaking behind me. I guess it was Shinmu pulling the tablecloth in a tantrum. I ignored him and went upstairs to my room. I meant what I said to Shinmu. On the way back today, I carefully sorted out the possibilities that might happen between the outsider and Shinmu. I suddenly realized that Shinmu was much easier to deal with than my brother and Guzian. A big reason why he fell in love with the outsider was because of coincidence. He just needed a new little crescent moon to save his increasingly empty soul. The outsider appeared, with the help of the system. He knew all of Shinmu's preferences and past, and wove a golden dream to cater to his preferences and trap Shinmu, making him indulge in it. I didn't need to deliberately separate the outsider and Shinmu. I just needed to let Shinmu look at me and let Shinmu know that I was better than that woman in every way. Some crying children needed candy to calm down, while others needed a stern look.